Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to 42 Strains. It's your boy Double A coming at you, and we have a very special episode in tune for you right now. Kind of going to be interesting. This is going to be very interesting because this is going to be the first time since the very first episode of 42 Strains, long ago, that today will only be Surfer Dan and I.
Yes, the OG.
Yes, the
lineup.
OGs. We're coming at you in we're in the same studio, so it's not like we're in closer quarters, but we're kind of closer. Like it's not a smoke circle, it's a smoke line.
Yeah, it really is a smoke seesaw.
Yeah, it's a smoke seesaw.
That's what it is.
And we have a wonderful bowl packed already. You know it.
Wonderful. Do you know what the strain is that we are?
Yeah, this is a mix of I believe. Yeah, Zope is one of them.
Okay.
And the other one, I believe, is animal cookies.
Oh, I do like me some animal cookies.
So it's a little bit of a salad. It should be really nice from at least
for a
my
nice little
what I have.
hangout bowl.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. If Spam has a favorite mixture of a bowl, please send that in.
Like a good little chill salad. What's your favorite salad?
Your favorite little chill salad. Yeah.
And we don't have emails to go over this episode. Today's episode is going to be a little interesting. We had talked a little bit about it in the last episode. So you didn't know it was coming this soon, but it is.
It is.
This is going to be the episode where Surfer Dan and I go over our two probably. For me, it's definitely my most traumatic life experience, but for you, it might be there might be a competition for that.
Oh, it's in the top three.
It's just
three.
So definitely a little bit of a trigger warning. This is definitely going to involve like a bit of trauma, just come out with it because we've talked about it before. Both of us almost died. It's some very serious stuff is going to be talked about. So if you're kind of sensitive to that kind of things, hospital stories, things like that,
will be talked about.
Yeah, death's going to be talked about. Like it can get serious. So definitely just want to warn you guys before we get into it.
We also will be mentioning COVID because both of these events happened.
Yeah,
us visiting
during the first year of COVID,
during the beginning of the giant widespread part of the pandemic. Where we were in hospitals that were having to run during this pandemic.
Yeah,
so
absolutely,
we are going to be mentioning the big C word, so that will pop up. We are not going to be talking about because neither one of us were there for COVID. And I don't know if either one of us saw or heard anybody on our level or floor that knew that was COVID.
No, because I got negative, I was moved to the section of the floor where it was only negative patients for COVID.
Gotcha.
St. Joseph's had it separated like that.
Yeah. Kaiser
they had the floors separated. And I was like, okay, well, you guys are doing that as smart as you can. I think, based on how quickly this has been going on.
Yeah, they
pretty wild.
They have contingency plans, man.
Yeah, and I just want to, and we're not doing this because we just want to have some, super sad or pitiful episode. I think this is definitely more to just kind of get to know us a little bit more, get a little bit more.
Celebrate the fact.
Yeah, and just kind of go over stuff that, I think people can also relate to and also grab some hope from. I think, especially with how common I think the things that we're going to go over are.
Well, that and I also tend to believe that since we are a smoke sesh, a smoke circle with something to say. I love that tag.
Best tagline.
I love that, and that came very naturally for us, so I absolutely love that.
Beautiful.
But with doing that, it happens when you sometimes are just one-on-one with somebody smoking. You end up, hey man, what, have you ever broken a bone? And then you just start talking about times both of you have broken bones.
Not every stoner moment's a laughing, goofy thing.
This
can get
is
emotional.
one of those late night sessions that it is just the two of us hanging out. Hey, look, we got enough for a few bowls. Let's kill this, then go to bed. That kind of shit. And I know all of you have felt that. So now it's
I think
melancholy, just a little calm, relaxing. We're going to laugh because we both handle a lot of trauma through laughter.
Yeah, that's
and comedy.
accurate.
We may make some extremely inappropriate jokes.
Yeah, I can't promise. But that's why we're always 18 plus. But
we're just trying to trigger warn you because if you do not want to hear some hospital tales, man, I understand it.
Yeah,
I had a fear of hospitals, and I'll get into that story going through mine. Yeah, I had a fear of hospitals, and then I was trapped.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because we're gonna go over Surfer Dan's first because the timeline for this is kind of interesting. Oh no!
Went up my nose.
Oh god! Oh, did you get the burn?
Yeah.
Oh God, that is the worst. Do you have water? You got water.
I got water and I got soda. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, so the timeline for this is kind of interesting. So this extremely crazy, traumatic thing happened to Surfer Dan at one point, pretty much at the beginning of the heat of COVID, and I believe
I can get the school I was working at
May.
Shut down in late February, early March.
Oh,
we were going to go on a break anyway, but then they just extended the break.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then May is when my event happened.
That's right. Yeah.
So
and then
I had March and April, and then
7 months later,
towards the end of May, and then it was just
I thought literally 7 months later.
Was it 7? Okay.
Yeah, December.
I kept thinking it was 6. I thought it was November, but I was still.
Well, it was like the very beginning of December.
Yeah,
it was like December 3rd.
I was still.
I think I was admitted on December 3rd. So just because we're going off of that timeline, we're going to go over Surfer Dan's first because they're just so close to each other. It was just a very crazy thing to go through that close to each other. Without any further ado, go ahead and start with kind of the day of the accident, the day of the thing.
The preface is very much the we've always joked that you are the next Surfer Dan. That one day,
yeah.
So the fact that these two events happen so close together is just, I don't know if that's time speeding up and we're catching up to each other.
I'm an atheist, but that definitely seemed to be some like extra work at hand. Just being like, yeah, you two are linked in way different ways than one.
Sometimes that universe cog clicks.
Yeah,
and it's
just like, wow.
All right.
And you can't help but behold it. You can't help but just to be like, wow, that's really a thing.
You know, like that one time we shared a dream.
That's, wow, that might have to be another episode.
That might be
that was insane.
I don't remember how much of that dream I remember.
No,
but I remember
probably because we put it away. We put it away and we're like, we don't even.
Yeah, that was a weird fucking event. Weed does amazing things to people. Yeah, so we're towards the end of May. I want to say it was like May 20 something. 21.
It was definitely late May.
Yeah, it was late May. And so which story do you want? I've got 2 stories. I've got the story that I tell all the doctors, and then I've got the truth.
I would like give us your experience first.
Oh,
your story, and then give us like what the actual real facts were.
Oh, like the story that I tell the doctors?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, tell the story. Yeah, tell the story you tell the doctors, and then tell
like
facts.
I like I said, I was on a break from work, and because it had just started COVID, so my amazing partner Dahlia and I had decided that we were going to do yard work and we were going to get some stuff done around the house. You know, that you put shit off thing. And when you're performers and you do a lot of extra work outside of your regular 9 to 5, you accumulate piles of things. So just piles of things where it's like, oh, okay, I've got these costumes that I've washed them. I just need to now put these bins back where they belong. Yeah. That kind of thing. But now it's just a pile of bins because it's not only those bins, but it's these bins from this other project. And then then it becomes this just over amounting. That room is now just shut. You remember being at my house and there's one room that there's a door just always shut because it was a storage container.
Yeah.
That's all it fucking was.
Surfer Dan's got a lot of stuff, guys.
Yeah. Years of accumulation.
A lot of stuff.
Lots of fun stuff.
Lots of stuff.
One day I'll downgrade, but until then, I am a maximalist.
There it is.
I am a maximalist. I love my stuff because they all have stories. Yeah, every single one of them is a story, or they're part of a story. So I love them. It's not materialistic like I buy the most expensive shit. It's very much I have a connection to this, so I want it. And if I can get it, I'm going to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not going to be stupid about it, but if it's way out of a feasible idea, then I just will wish for it, and that's it. And I'm like, one day maybe I'll find it at a flea market. But so we were going to move stuff. We were going to downgrade. We were going to clear out some space. That's what we were doing. So that day, we had been working outside until it got too hot, about noonish. And then we went inside and ate lunch, but I wanted to eat lunch quickly because I wanted to get, while we still had energy and I was still feeling okay, because as a diabetic, sometimes you don't know where your blood sugar is going to go. So I wanted to make sure we ate lunch quickly so that way we can get at least one of the inside projects done before we sat down and relaxed.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's just get there. Let's just finish this one project inside. It won't take long. And with two of us, we can get this done, and we'll get this done, and we'll just finish. And no matter what, we'll get this done. And I just kept pushing it. And then, I just remember this pain in the side of my head right around the temple that felt like somebody had taken a railroad spike and put it against my temple and then took like the might of Thor's hammer.
God damn.
And slammed it into my skull as hard as it could, and it dropped me. I was full standing. I had something in my hands, and I dropped it and just fell straight back like a comedy. There was no knees anymore. I was just down.
Jesus. And
apparently I let out a scream. I've been told that. I didn't know that. That's a good spot to stop, because that's where I stopped telling the story. Well, I can tell you the rest of it, but it stays the same between that telling the doctor and the before.
Now what's the facts? Now what's the facts there, Sir Dan?
So at the time that we were that this was off, we were both out. She, at the beginning of COVID, her office didn't shut down because there was only like 3 people. And they were all in such spread out that most of her day was alone in her office.
Yep.
So
I was working with her at the time.
She was vaccinated. Yeah, and you were in the warehouse.
Yeah.
And most of your day, you guys would see each other sometimes.
Yeah.
Now, both you were in the same bubble because we were still in the same bubble, so it was fine. Because at that time, we lived close enough together that we were like, yeah, I need human contact. We're both in the same. We're vaccinated. Yeah, let's do this. All right, yeah, let's do. Okay, so we were in that bubble, and then we were rehearsing a show.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning, we were rehearsing that show because it got shut down. So we were definitely in our protective bubbles. And where was I?
The real facts.
The real facts. Yeah. So in the evenings, we were rehearsing that show, so people were always over. And at the time, we had a roommate who was always there and depressed. And we never had time alone. Mm-hmm. But this day, all the stars aligned.
All the stars.
And we had nothing to do. We had chores. We had chores we needed to do. We did need to clean out that room. We did need to do yard work. Yeah, no, that made all sense. But instead, we decided to fuck in the kitchen.
Yeah, you did. Because these are the facts.
And I was having difficulty finishing. I don't know if you've reached that stage in your life as a man.
No.
Part of it is because I am overweight. Is this bong on me?
I don't remember if you hit that or not, to be honest.
Don't recall. I'm going to hit
Is it a fresh flip?
No, there's black on it.
Then I hit it once. I did hit it once after a fresh flip. So yeah, that's on you, big guy.
So
that's on you, Sir for Dan.
We are fucking in the kitchen.
Yeah. But you're having issues?
We're tall people, and we have one of those tall chairs, which is the perfect height when leaned back slightly for me to be standing and her to get to sit on a cushion and lean back on a cushion. And then I just have to hold her legs. So she doesn't have to, she's in a relaxed position that feels amazing for both of us. It's not one of those like compromise situations that this feels better for you than me. No, this is nice. Our favorite.
Yeah, this is nice.
We moved a lot of these chairs to outside because we don't care what happens to them. We saved 2 in the house just to make sure we have a spot to fuck.
Yeah, that's good. That's
okay.
Good. Yep.
Because it's comfortable and it's nice and I like that. You'll find that you'll start buying furniture for sex. I love it.
That seems like the best reason to buy furniture.
Yes.
Really.
Yes. Wait. Yes. I like this couch, but can we fuck on it?
Yeah.
I could nap on it, but can we fuck on it?
It's a box to check.
These chairs we can fuck on, and we are. And so I'm having difficulty. It's just not happening. And I'm like, but I'm so close. Like, I just want to finish.
I just want to get there.
I just
want
wanna
to get to the
finish.
finish line, dude.
Look, I just want to finish this
It's
one.
been a marathon.
This one chore. We ate lunch quickly.
Yeah. And I just want to finish this one.
just wanna
because I don't know what my blood sugar is going to do to me.
I just want to finish. And I have had, there's a disorder. I can't remember what it's called. It's got a Latin name.
Yeah, but it's told me twice.
It's a migraine that is brought on specifically by orgasm, by a male orgasm. That guys will sometimes get this debilitating post-coital headache.
That's fucking rough.
That drops them. And I've had a couple of those in life with my current partner. I've had a few throughout life, but I had a couple of those by that point. And okay, maybe that's what this is. But then it felt like a railroad spike was held against my temple. And with the might of Thor's
But this
hammer,
was not while you had something in your hand.
there it is. No, I had her ass cheeks in my hand. And I dropped her and I fell straight back. And apparently I screamed. I didn't know I screamed. And then I apparently lost the ability to speak.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't know this because I thought I was saying things. But apparently, even though I lost the ability to speak, this is one of the coolest things to me. I was still signing. I was using sign language. I know some words and enough to explain to somebody who knows very little sign language what I think. So I first start signing candy because I think maybe it's my blood sugar. So I tell her through sign to go get my tester. So we check it. My blood sugar is not too high. My blood sugar is not too low. For one of the few times in my life I've checked my blood sugar, it's exactly in fucking range. So that ain't it. I've already ruled out the post-coital migraine. So that, because I didn't get to finish. And it happens when you finish. You want to talk about the biggest fucking
Blue ball ever.
blue ball cock tease ever in this fucking planet.
Interruption.
Yeah, have a stroke.
Yeah,
right before.
literal.
I think that's the
stroke.
first time I've used the word stroke throughout this story so far.
Yeah,
too.
because that's what he had was a stroke.
So, but I didn't know this yet.
Did
I
not
didn't
know this
yet.
information.
I'm trying to rule it out. So then I tell her to go get the thermometer, and she checks my temperature. It's
Up
fine.
your butt,
It's
obviously.
fine. Yes, obviously up my butt.
You're already naked. Shit.
She that didn't work. So I had no clue what was happening. I didn't know what was going on. And then I slowly apparently started being able to talk again. But that's the exact same moment that I started feeling extreme nausea. And it was enough time for her to get something under me before I began vomiting.
Ugh.
I used to have severe stomach issues. I guess we should have trigger warned for vomiting too. Sorry. We're going to add
I just
to this.
feel
We're
like
just
that
gonna
can be
keep-
included.
Yeah,
We're going
medical.
over some
Yeah, okay, there we go.
serious
So
medical things.
I am vomiting to the
Out
point
of any
where
end.
if you've ever had any stomach issues in life and you've ever gotten to the point where you are done vomiting, but you're not done vomiting,
Oh, God.
there's nothing left. You are now
You're just
pure
heaving.
bile.
You're just heaving stomach acid.
You now can feel, in my brain, I just picture every time just a layer of my stomach peeling off and coming out because there's nothing but bile and that's it. And I'm freaking out because very rarely have I gotten that, even
Like
with
that point.
to that point. Usually it's like the dry
it got there hella
heaving
fast,
and then
huh?
you're done. But beyond dry heaving, there's then the level of bile
Yeah.
where your body goes, you're not finished. We need it all out. We need to start fresh. Clean the bitch. That and so
Restart.
so I'm freaking out now but I'm stupid. I'm a guy. I don't know what's going on. So since I have no frame of reference for what's going on, but everything I have had a reference to is just less than this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, no, I vomited a whole, this is a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I've had a headache during, oh, this is worse. And I'd love to say I'm smart enough to call 911. Let's get the fuck out of here. No. I sat down in my lounge thinking that the nausea will be helped by smoking. And maybe that will help me.
I mean, marijuana is really nice.
Yeah. So, and it's helped me with nausea.
Really helpful.
Nausea many times. But like the second the smoke hit my throat, I began vomiting again. And so that was a no. That was a no. That did not. I thought about setting up a dab, but I didn't have enough energy. And at a certain point,
because again, you had a fucking stroke,
but I didn't know this yet. So I'm sitting there on the couch in the lounge, and I've got the TV on. I'm watching.
Guys, his brain
videos.
said "brrr,"
yeah,
and then he tried to do things after.
Jumped into a blender, and I tried to act like it was fine. That's not actually a fit description, but I'll get to it because it's
well,
crazy.
Yeah.
What?
Can't do a dab.
So I can't do a dab. So I've got music videos on, and I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
I wonder why.
Exhausted. And apparently, the one thing you should never do when you have a stroke is fall asleep. But my body
was like, God.
Was like, I'm exhausted. I need to fall asleep. But the second I would try to go to sleep, I would begin vomiting bile
because even though your body's like sleepy, your brain's like, body, you don't know what the fuck you think you know.
The stomach's going, look, brain's not working. I'm in charge now.
The stomach's never been given this responsibility, never was trained.
It goes two things. Food goes in, poo goes out. Yeah, and
this guy has no idea what's going on.
I don't care which way it's gotta go. It's gotta go.
He's running into other rooms just switching light switches like, hope this is working. Hope this is working.
Wait, what does this plug do?
Yeah.
That poor stomach, because it kept
keeping
me alive.
You up. Yeah, keeping you awake.
Keeping me up. And then it once I gave up on trying to go to sleep, you know, that exhaustion point, you were like, well, this isn't happening.
Yes.
I started being able to smoke again. Like I could take a hit and I wouldn't throw up. And I was taking little sips of water, which,
dude,
apparently you're not supposed to drink after a stroke.
Yeah, I know. I think I heard that too.
But I was taking little sips
I will
of
say
water.
when you haven't, you can like finally.
Well, especially after vomiting and your throat is
you want to talk about what liquid gold is?
Sandpaper has ripped out layers of your throat in chunks, and then you poured hot acid across it.
Yeah, exactly.
So the little sips of water,
a literal description,
was wonderful, and it was enough to get me to smoke. And then I was able to take a dab, and I'm like, okay, I'm good, and I'm starting to feel like I could still feel the pain where it was. But
not necessarily conscious, but like you're
I have a high
cognitive,
pain.
like a little bit more cognitive.
I'm starting to see things a little more clearly. Yes.
The rain is gone.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Well, the rain's going.
The rain is going. It's maybe it's the eye of the storm. I'm not sure. I think that's a fit description. It may have been another stroke. I don't know. Or I just prolonged it with this. The pain was still there, but I have a high pain tolerance. I've broken a bone and continued performing on stage. My nose in 3 places and just kept going with my lines. I'm not tough. I'm not saying that. I don't notice the pain till later, and then it's debilitating. But this was instantaneous, and it had dulled enough for me to try and start figuring out
what's the fuck is going on.
What is happening? My blood sugar by now maybe is, but I can't think of eating. I've got a couple.
That just sounds awful.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no. So I might have to go to the hospital.
You just want to punch plates of food.
And so it was in the afternoon, like I said, after lunch, that the actual first impact of my head exploding is what it felt like, and me dropping. And then now I'm having these thoughts about 7:30 in the morning. Okay? So I haven't gone to the hospital yet. I'm
Again, he
sitting
had a
in the
stroke.
lounge.
The day before,
But I didn't know.
early afternoon,
Yeah, no. It's
and then did other things,
and then I did other things.
and then
I didn't eat.
and then went
It's
to
not
sleep
like I moved.
again,
I-
and then went to sleep again at some point for.
My amazing partner got me to the couch in the lounge, and you know the distance from my kitchen
Yeah.
there. It's not that far.
15 feet.
I was able to get there. She sat me down. I was propped up with pillows, so I was as comfortable as I could be. I had a couple of vessels to get rid of.
Yeah.
And I had a big ass cup of water, and I had everything, the bong and lighter in reach, and I had YouTube music videos going. I'm fine.
No, you're not. You had a stroke.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
You had
And
a
then
fucking stroke.
then I'm watching a music video, and I see the image of the video go suddenly to the left, and at the same time suddenly to the right. And everything directly in front of me was pitch black. But like out of the periphery of my vision,
That's so weird.
I could see the image doubled. Like if you almost didn't cross-eye, if you almost put your eyes out completely.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But it maintained the image you just saw on the TV. And at that point, I went, fuck. And I grabbed my phone, and I'm thankful enough that I know how to operate my phone well enough that I can call my amazing partner from the lounge. Now, the problem is I was 90% sure that I hit her number. Because next to it is my best friend, who at the time didn't live or had just moved to the state, but was 2 hours away. So, not going to get there. And then the next person in line was, might have been you. Might be you. I'd have to check my
Favorites.
context and my favorites.
Yeah.
But it might be Carmel Camel or Carmel Camel's wife.
Yeah.
Because we've done a lot of projects together. So it might be there. I don't remember. But yeah. So right in there.
One of
so
them.
I was about 90% sure. And so when I heard her voice, very groggy answer, I just simply said, it's time to call the hospital. And so we called the advice nurse because we are poor. So you do not call 911 and have to pay for that and get there if you can just get to the hospital. And I walked to the lounge. So
Car. Right.
car. All right, another 15 feet.
Car.
I can do this. Let's go. Yeah, I didn't quite make it all the way very well. She had to help me quite a bit to get there. We decided to go around the quicker route because, standing was bad. The advice nurse said get to the hospital right away. And I thought that I had told her not to go to one hospital because they didn't have an emergency room. But apparently, like, only every third word was coming out. Like, when I told her what I thought I had said to her in the car ride, she was like, that makes sense, because then she read back to me what she remembered of what I said. And yeah, no, it was like you were listening to
Like a
somebody
radio cutting
talking
out.
and somebody was just going, no volume, volume, no volume, no volume,
Jesus.
to where you got like every third to fifth word. So she didn't understand what I was saying, so she went to the hospital that was closest that does not have an emergency room, and they said that there's two places to go to, and one of them, I hate that hospital, so I said the other one. I was able to say the word to get me to that hospital. And so that's when she was like, all right, let's go. So she drove me to the hospital. This is right at the height of the pandemic, like I said. I remember nothing from the moment she arrived with somebody in a wheelchair for a long time. So what I now
Yeah,
share
it's like
with
your
you,
brain literally got you to where it recognized
Yeah.
subconsciously is like, these can help me. I'm done. It's
I'm
like
done. I've held. It was like the stomach was
your stomach
still
was
in
like,
charge.
I'm finally
It was
done.
like I got this far with the thanks of lungs, with the
just
the thanks,
insane.
the
You
thanks
saw a
of-
wheelchair and a lady, and you're
Yeah.
like, thank God. The stomach's like, thank you.
It was big orderly dude. Big
Oh,
dude.
sick.
Yeah,
You're like, yeah, he can help.
Because apparently, from what I've heard, this is the rest of the story for a little while until I get to I remember this.
Exactly.
I'll tell you when I remember it, okay? Because
Other than
I
that,
had
this is all
traumatic
second
brain.
account. This is all
Yeah.
like second-hand account
to
you because you basically told this.
But I've got a lot of it from a couple of sources, so I've put it together very well with research.
Yeah, and
this is not I just trusted one person.
Yeah.
I got their opinion, and then I got some other people's stuff. What happens is my amazing partner gets to the front door of the hospital with the orderly and gets into the lobby area, to which they put a mask on her and put a mask on me. And I remember somebody checking my blood pressure. I remember that because I remember it hurting really bad. I don't know why.
Interesting.
But I remember suddenly like being startled that it felt like somebody had grabbed really hard on my arm and hurt me. And because Dahlia even remembers me almost screaming out a little bit, just making it loud during the blood pressure check. And when they checked it and they had the little heart monitor on my finger, I was briskly moved away to this little back room area, just pushed off. And my partner was told, please wait in the lobby. I went in the lobby and was told very quickly that, yeah, he's going to be here a while. We'll contact you when we know more. You can't stay.
Yeah, during COVID, because again, height of COVID, you couldn't just chill in a hospital. You couldn't.
And she thought about staying in the parking lot. She stayed for a while crying because that was the first moment to go, fuck, what did I do? And part of her blamed not going to the hospital the night before on her, and there was no reason for that. I'm the one who said I'm fine.
Well, and again, neither knowing at all what's, you just don't know that. And so...
Yeah. So I am in and out of seeing people moving, but not knowing what's going on. Apparently I answered questions, but very like one-wordy type things. Enough for them to understand something. Don't know what. Plus they had, because Dahlia did give the nurse in the front the account of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember a very, very nice man, because he just kept apologizing. Very, very like Canadian nice, like super fucking polite. Just, I'm so sorry, man. No, I'm going to get you down here. Come on, man. Come on. It's all right, man. Come on. Come on, man. And just light skin tan. I don't know if Hispanic or light skin black. I don't know who he was. I don't remember. I just remember his face. Big smile. Lots of apologies.
Lots of apologies.
And he moves me down, and like my foot bumped into, and I was in a wheelchair, and he had me get up on the MRI table.
Yeah.
And so he puts me on the MRI table, and I remember being, and they asked me if I'm claustrophobic, and I'm not. I'm not claustrophobic, but something happens to you when you're in an enclosed space for a long ass period of time that you become claustrophobic. I don't have a fear of heights, but I stood on the edge of a skyscraper in one of those glass box things and looked down. And
it makes you feel away.
It wasn't long that I was up there. It was a cool experience. I was like, yeah, this is cool. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah,
Get me the fuck out of here.
That's the thing. And so I'm groaning and not making sense on what I'm trying to say. And the guy is apologizing. He stayed in there while he was just hey man, I'm so sorry. We're almost done. And just all of that. So I remember lots of apologies. And I remember him getting me off the table and my knees gave out, trying to get me to stand up to get me into the chair, and I hit the floor.
Fuck.
And I don't remember getting up off the floor. I don't remember getting back to the room that I was in. I don't remember talking to any doctors. Apparently, I talked to doctors according to what the nurses told Dahlia. And I remember being in a wheelchair, thinking that I was being in the wheelchair in that MRI room. But then the direction we were going, I looked, and it was this weird amalgamation of my brain remembering I was in the MRI room and then opening my eyes again, and now we're going out the front doors of the hospital. And I'm like, these were the doors I came in. So I start thinking I'm getting released, and Dahlia's going to be bringing the car around. And I'm going to be put in the car. Why would I think I'm going to be anywhere else? I got wheeled in here and Dahlia got out of the car with me. So obviously she's getting the fucking car.
I'm being taken out of the hospital.
And instead, this comically deep-voiced black man is behind me instead of the apology guy. And this dude's harsh. But not like mean.
He's just
this is what's happening.
This is business time.
He's like, hey man, I'm Otis. I am taking you to the ambulance. I'm glad to see that your eyes are open. And I'm like,
you don't want to hear that. You never want that.
And I can't impersonate his voice because it was deeper than my body can fucking register.
But I'm just, you never want, glad your eyes are open. You're like, yeah. Okay.
Think the deepest voice. Stop and think the deepest voice you know.
What, like
in the history of anybody who's ever been recorded?
I'm real tired, boss. Like,
you want Morgan Freeman? You want to go as deep as Morgan?
No, I'm thinking.
Freeman?
He passed away. Green Mile.
Duncan Clark.
Yeah, Junior.
I don't. Michael Clark Duncan.
Yes, Michael Clark Duncan, and his voice is. Or are you in good hands?
Yes. Picture a combination of those two. And then turn up the bass.
Jesus Christ.
So that was Otis. Now, that might not be his voice. That's how my head registered his voice directly behind my head.
Saying, I'm glad to see your
eyes are open.
Like, okay.
So you do that impersonation, Spam, on your own.
On your own.
But that is 100% what I heard. And the ambulance pulls up. The paramedics get out of the ambulance that pull up. And they were like getting the papers and talking to the person that was with Otis. I don't remember who she was. I just remember a voice. Mm. And it was a higher register. That's all I know.
Yeah.
So could be female. I don't know. But Otis said, all right, man, you're being moved to Sacramento because we don't have anybody that specializes in strokes here. And that's the first time I've heard the word stroke.
So you're like, excuse me.
Yes. Now, in my brain, remember what I said? I got whisked in there. I remember seeing people moving around. I got moved down to MRI. I fell on the floor. I'm being pushed out the door. My brain is thinking I'm there 15 minutes.
Ugh.
And I'm waiting for Dahlia to bring the car around. And instead it's an ambulance, and Otis is happy my eyes are open and telling me I had a stroke.
But, sometimes you just need Otis's support with whatever it is.
As casual as fucking possible. Just, we have nobody here that specializes in strokes. Oh, I had a stroke. They get me up on the...
Yeah, did you immediately register like, oh, I had a stroke, or were you like, why do I need that?
No, I heard him say we have nobody that can specialize in strokes.
And your brain clicked on that?
I had a stroke. Now, I don't think it was a question.
It was
I don't think it was an exclamation point. I think it was a period. I think it was just somebody typed out, I had a stroke.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Just like an immediate statement
like
acceptance.
In Times New Roman. Just,
size 11.
That's what it was. Yeah, exactly. Just
no bold.
Nothing. Just what was that? Like if I wrote this out in a novel about my life, it would be chapter 11. I had a stroke.
I had a stroke.
Rest of the page blank.
Just
turn again. Chapter 12, and it would continue
during my recovery.
Yeah,
You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, just
and you're like, yeah, me too. And you're like, yeah, me too.
So I apparently rode. It's about an hour ride. I don't remember the ride at all. I remember.
Now, and do you know whether or not you looked conscious and don't remember this, or you were unconscious and so don't remember it?
Apparently, I was trying to talk the entire time.
Dang.
Like I was
just complete subconscious, like almost sleep talking then. In a way.
Drunk talking, but the volume was weird.
Oh, like blacked out. You're like belligerent almost.
No, because it was like casual conversation type talking.
Like in your head, like since you don't remember, but from what you heard, it's basically like, did they say you were clear on speaking?
No, not
oh, yeah. So it was like
it was more mumbly,
jumbly,
and then every now and then a word. Oh,
interesting.
I don't know what that word meant because there's no context.
And you're like,
and the volume would go from very whispery, and then suddenly I'd mumble very loud, and then I'd whisper a word, and then because there was no volume control, my brain had shut off functions to survive.
Who knows? Your stomach could have still been running language.
Once people took over, stomach was like, I'm sleeping.
Yeah, stomach retired for like he took a partial retirement.
I was intravenously for so much of ICU, so stomach really did just go, I'm not working it.
Jesus, yeah.
I kept this fat fuck alive.
Yeah.
That I did my job.
Over
failed,
my job. Over my job. I think stomach after a while is asking for a raise.
I think liver helped a little, but
probably.
I know lungs did.
Well, liver's been through the marathon. That's
so
why.
I think lungs did because I'm used to ripping bongs. So,
exactly.
I really do say medical marijuana probably saved me for a lot of reasons, and I'll keep telling the story.
I mean,
so
I definitely think it's got to be part of it.
Yeah.
Either way, even
because
if it was willpower and that.
How many people have a stroke and then survive?
12 plus hours.
And remember, now it's so. I think I was at the first hospital 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
35,
how long was that?
Maybe 35. I'll get to it.
Okay.
Because I don't know yet. Just like the stroke, I don't know yet.
Yeah, you're just so unaware and oblivious.
So then an hour ambulance ride to the hospital that I'm going to. I don't know where. I might have spoiled it by saying Sacramento. That's what I found out later. I just know that I'm going to a hospital that they specialize in strokes. That they have somebody on staff that specializes in strokes. So I am going to that hospital. I don't know where it is. I could make a guess, but it turned out to be Sacramento. I found that out 3 days later. But I didn't know it was 3 days later. I thought it was the next day. Because time stopped existing. My brain only registered what it could hold on to in the glimpses it saw reality.
Yeah.
And it was broken. And it was struggling to do its normal function and doing everything
Cognitive.
it could. I fully believe when I was described what happened and what should have happened, but instead what my brain did, there are two things. Years of doing performances and having them memorize shit and medical marijuana staving off pain to give the brain just enough time to rewire to be able to start that process.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because I do it for chronic pain anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what I
gave it enough of a pressure reliever.
Just enough.
Barely, because you're not, you're barely rewiring. I mean, you're talking about a black room where they're working with barely a headlamp that works.
Every horror movie where suddenly there's just a little spark that you could see the room out of, that's what I've got.
Yeah.
That's what I've got, and I'm putting together an ambulance ride, and I'm putting together going into a hospital
transferring.
And then I remember being in a room, and there's a TV to my right above. Mm-hmm. And the office is on. Now, this is where I stop because for me, 20 minutes at the first hospital, hour to the next hospital, rushed into a room. I am now sitting in this bed propped up. Oh, there's a TV in the office is on. 2-3 hours, maybe 7.5 hours was all of that.
Jesus.
I was at the first hospital for 2.5 hours. So then an hour drive.
Yeah.
And then I've been at the next hospital for 3 hours.
Getting everything settled in. And
getting me to where I need to be, which is apparently an ICU, of which I don't know it's an ICU. And I don't know that I've got all the tubes making sure that I'm alive because I can't eat. And I am still trying to casually talk. And it's just, but apparently the volume thing had stopped and it's just been a steady flow of whisper. Even with
You're
a
a
stroke,
whispery boy.
I wouldn't fucking
You were
stop
ASMRing.
talking.
You were
Yeah,
ASMRing
exactly.
before it was even popular, dude.
Somebody should have recorded it. Like,
Where's this? Shh, come on.
I like to think it was every line from every show that I had stored and I just pushed it all out.
Yeah, or you were just projecting The Office while you were watching it.
Maybe that's what it was. I knew what the next line was, so might as well just
Yeah,
say it.
yeah.
So who knows? But I just kept saying, and they would ask me questions, and that's when my volume would get louder, and I would actually answer. I don't remember any of that. I remember seeing them, and I remember them looking at me and saying things. I don't remember what they said, but I remember responding and them reacting to my response. Sometimes in real time, sometimes in fast forward. I meant like really, I saw them like move quickly, and that scared the fuck out of me.
Well, yeah.
Anytime that
probably
happened,
the delay your brain is experiencing is only able to show you
just a bunch of images real quick, and it just shutter effect. It was weird as fuck. But The Office was on. It was. The Office was on.
You know that.
Yeah.
You
it
know
was on.
that fact.
Yeah. The Office
Time?
was on.
Fuck time?
Yeah.
Office is on, though.
The Office was on. Okay.
Steve's killing it.
Now.
Jim's killing it.
Now. Apparently, I spoke to on the phone to Dahlia.
Maybe you watched the episode Stanley has a heart attack
No.
and, felt some...
I'll tell you what episode I watched.
Oh, you remember some episodes?
I will tell you what
Oh,
episode
that's
I
great.
watched
Oh,
when I
that's
get
great.
to the end of this
Oh,
part
that's
of the story.
amazing.
I will tell you because I'll tell you
I
from
love
my
The
memory,
Office.
Okay? And you will love the fact that this is what it is. Okay? Ready? Now. So apparently I talked to my amazing partner on the phone.
On phone. Like you had your phone this whole time? Or like they had the phone next to
They
you?
had the phone plugged in. Dahlia had a bag. I was in. She very nicely put gym shorts on me and a T-shirt that she had just grabbed out of the laundry.
Okay.
And one of my favorite shirts, and it got ruined. So,
Fuck.
but it's fine. It was just a T-shirt. That's all it
Yeah.
was. It was an animal, one of my Muppet shirts. That's all it was.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, it's not
I
a
know
big
which one
deal.
you're talking about
Not a
now.
big deal.
Oh,
Not a
that
big
sucks,
deal.
though.
Yeah, it's
That's
fine.
why I haven't seen that in a long-ass time. I didn't even realize
it
that.
died in the stroke.
Damn.
Yeah.
It died in the stroke. Like,
And I have
everything-
no explanation for why, but I'll get to where that shows up. Anyway, I know I'm
It
using
died in the
so much
stroke.
of this story. I'm so sorry.
No, I think it's great.
Hopefully everybody's still
I was,
still there.
and for reference, I was not in the hospital I was in there for a while, but not
Yeah.
as long as Surfer Dan.
Yeah.
So mine is a little shorter.
But I didn't know that
No,
Not yet.
no, you didn't.
because The Office was on. Okay. So apparently I talked to my
I think
amazing
that
partner.
might be the title of the episode already.
Apparently, because The Office was on. Apparently, I butt dialed Caramel Camel because of hitting my favorites.
Oh,
and
okay.
apparently I talked. Caramel Camel has told me
He
I
has mentioned
called
this to me
and
as
we
well.
had, and that was when I was in the ICU still. So, I am falling asleep and then waking up, but it doesn't feel like I've slept at all because I just feel exhausted.
Well, God.
And it feels more like I closed my eyes while watching The Office because I'd opened my eyes and The Office was on.
Goddamn right.
So I thought it was fine.
Because The Office is there for you when you need it most.
I do remember that at one point the room and everything beyond the room got very dark. Like I could see everything.
Like your vision?
No, like everybody,
Like
like
light?
all the lights were turned.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like it was pitch black, but just
so
like
it could
the
have been your
ambient
vision,
glow.
but you had no idea that's what
No
it
clue.
was.
No clue. But there were
You just
fewer
have- you're
people
like-
moving around because I remember every time I looked beyond the office, I could see the big window out to the entryway where there was people monitoring stuff and everything. And I would look and there would be people moving around and they would peek in and look and then they'd walk away and then they'd peek in and sometimes they'd look in other people's windows. And I felt like I was in a zoo because
You were.
and I was
100%.
one of the exhibits because they would look in at me and go, oh, well, he's not doing anything interesting. Let's move on to the next one. And then I remember it being pitch black and nobody moving around. There's nobody around.
Just all of a sudden,
It's
kind of
just-
like gradually.
Like at one point, I'm watching The Office, and then one of those moments where I kind of close my eyes and I open my eyes, and The Office is on, and then I look beyond The Office
And
to
it's-
the rest of the world, and all the lights are off. I'm like, oh, what is going on here? Okay. And then suddenly, the lights only in my room come on, and two people run in really fast, wheeling something. And I don't know what that is yet, but I find out. Okay. So, the next thing I remember after that moment is I kind of do my doze off and close my eyes and open my eyes and look back up and the office is on. Okay. And there's somebody saying, okay, so the swelling's gone down enough that we're moving you out of ICU because you're stable. I was like, okay.
I don't fucking feel stable.
Okay. But I remember her saying it. And I said, okay.
So you were like on the ride, like autopilot at that point,
And
still kind of.
I said, okay. She said, I said, okay.
Yeah.
Because she said, okay. And I said, okay. And she said, all right, let's go. And I said, okay. And I remember feeling the feeling of words. I don't remember if maybe I just mumbled and nodded. I don't know because that's what it was. But I got moved to a room. Okay. And I'm in that ride. I remember the whole hallway, and there's not a whole lot of people in the hallway at all. It's very sparse. And I remember going past full rooms that were empty. And then I get to a room where I am now with one other person that's just on the other side of a curtain.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, but that room was empty. I'm like, I'm not greedy or anything.
But you're like,
if
why?
You have enough empty rooms. Why can't we all just spread out?
Yeah.
We could all have a solo room. Do you expect a rush? And the answer is yes, because it's fucking COVID.
But you're not thinking about that either.
But I'm not thinking about that.
You don't even
because
have time down.
I don't even know how serious COVID is, because remember that was March things shut down, and it's May.
Yeah, this was before really like
People were
the
lying about
shutdown.
statistics.
Shutdown.
Yeah,
This
there were
was
still
before,
businesses open.
Yeah, this was before
Yeah.
the real shutdown. This would have been kind of after the initial scare, where a lot of companies decided to say you're going to go home for
Yeah.
2 weeks,
Beginning of the
and it
mask
turned
bubble.
into a month and a half, and then they were like, "We're really not coming back for a while."
It's
like,
right after that month and a half mark.
Yeah,
Yep, there
it's
you
just,
go.
It was really
So,
there.
So yeah,
Crazy time to
I'm
be
now in
doing
the
that.
room, and
Yeah, because
I-
hospitals knew the stats.
yeah, and so I look up, and the TV's on, and I look up, and King of Queens is on. It's not The Office.
That's tight though. That's tight. It's good.
So at that moment,
Kevin James, baby.
I'm sitting there, but the volume is off, and the person comes in and asks me, because I'm in a chair next to the bed, and the person is asking me, do I need anything? And I said the remote, and he doesn't say anything, but he hands me the remote, which means I said it out loud. I said remote.
Could you have pointed?
No, because I was sitting and my arms.
okay.
He put the remote in my hand.
Heard.
So I said remote.
You had to.
Because it was, the volume was off. And so he then is explaining to me how the remote works, because it's one of those remotes to do the TV and the chair.
Oh. yeah, I know
So
what you're
he
talking
showed me how it worked, and I was able to get into a recline position. And he then grabbed the remote from me and moved me up a little bit more, saying the nurse said, no, not that far back. This is as far as you can go.
Yep.
And he goes, this is the volume, blah, 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 blah. He was like, what were you watching before? I said, The Office.
Because The Office was on.
Because The Office was on. He was like, I love The Office. what episode? And I start describing the episode. And it dawns on me that more time had passed.
What? Oh, because
And
you
I
started realizing
initially-
multiple episodes?
Because Jim and Pam do not get married at Christmas when Phyllis is Santa.
Ooh, yeah, that's a lot.
And that doesn't happen when Dwight Schrute shows up as the arachnid queen for Halloween. And that doesn't show up at the same time as Andy punching the wall
The first or second time?
the first time.
Oh, God, yeah, that was seasons.
And I went,
Easily.
how long have I been here?
You asked him that?
I asked him.
Oh,
He
God,
said
dude.
3 days. So there was an office
What
marathon on
what was
PBS
your what
that
was your
day.
scope? What was your scope at that point at all? Did you think really a day or like hours?
I thought that when it was dark, I'm like, that's night. Okay.
So you
that means-
maximum thought one
I
day,
thought
like
I was in-
24 hours.
I was in the emergency room. They figured out what was wrong. They're putting me in the next morning. They're putting me in the correct room.
Man,
So I don't realize
no way.
until he says 3 days.
And he all of a sudden gives you this reference that your brain, as a person who watched The Office, understands. And
Yeah.
you'll go all of a sudden when you're connecting the dots
Now-
out loud.
Now kicks in the third thing that I think saved me was my just adoration for pop culture.
Yeah.
Just whatever would have popped on, I could have looked up and Scrubs was on. And then if it was a Scrubs marathon, but
It just had to be
TBS
something, though.
or whatever
it had
it
to
was,
be something.
had to be
from-
something that I recognized and focused on
Yeah.
because I knew what was happening next. And maybe you're right. Maybe I was just mumbling the lines along with the actors because
That was
am
how your brain
an
was like.
actor. So and I'm
minimally-
used to observing, and that's
Yeah.
why every now and then when I'd look away, I'd look through and I'd see people moving into my vision. So all of that where I saw people moving around were days apart.
Hours and
Days
hours and
apart.
hours.
Days apart. So
You could, you felt like you were in a zoo, but it like, you
Yeah.
know, and there was like loads of people, but
Yeah. But
your
I was a
brain was
sloth.
compartmentalizing, like,
I was in a zoo, but I was a sloth. So like,
yeah, you turned your head and then you turned
Yeah.
your head back, and like the whole world has changed
Yeah.
by this point,
Yeah.
but you have no recollection of that because you're just going at your pace right now. Your
yeah,
brain
exactly.
is just
But things start
barely autopiloting.
things start to come clear at this moment.
So
'Cause I'm
so
remembering
total,
these things.
you're thinking maybe 4 or 5 days from the accident is when you're now feeling
I am now the
semi-aware.
semi-aware. Yes,
Is the best to put that, because I would not say you're
No, but
fully-
enough to where now I know I'm in the hospital in Sacramento.
okay.
I now know I've been in the ICU for 3 days. I now know the name of the nurse that was.
Does
that-
this kind of happen as like an epiphany after the time stamp? Like when he gives you that, does that sort of,
It's-
did that click something?
It was that and sitting up. It was now I'm sitting. I stood out of the wheelchair that he wheeled me in, and he sat me in that chair, and it was painful and difficult. But I had moved,
Okay.
and it was like at that moment my body started going, oh,
Like a little
like,
jolt.
like when a kid falls asleep in the car and you pick them up and they're fast asleep and they jolt somewhat awake the second their head hits the pillow.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
They're like,
Interesting.
"Oh, are we home?" Yes. Okay. And then they go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Except I was
Like staying in
Oh.
that state.
because now I was sitting up.
Yeah.
And so apparently, so I was introduced to a couple of different doctors. Something going on?
Yeah, I think I just saw Ruby
Oh,
going
okay.
out to the car.
Okay. So I was aware somewhat a lot more. So to know that to my right, beyond the curtain, was a man who was screaming. Screaming.
Wow, that is
In a language
that is really crazy.
I don't understand. I've had enough students from different cultures. I can tell it's Middle Eastern, but I do not know, and I haven't seen the man to even
Begin
out
to
a
reference.
guess.
Yeah.
But he is screaming or talking very loudly, and it is forceful. So whatever he was saying was very urgent for him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So I had to turn up. You know how deaf I am. You run the controls on the board.
As your thing, is it like twice the volume of mine?
Yeah, I know. I'm old, I told you.
I
didn't have this bad a hearing before the stroke, and nobody has said that hearing loss happens with a stroke. So who knows?
Just
my
bad
body does
timing
weird
all of a
shit.
sudden.
Yeah. Look, I'm gonna go blind at some point too. So look, shit's gonna happen to me.
God damn it.
Yeah, at some point I'm just gonna be propped up in a chair mumbling my stories. I had a preview
on a
of
rocking
it during
chair.
this. Yes. So I'm aware now of when it is and how long I've been here.
Yeah.
And I am aware where I am now. And enough to where they showed me where they plugged in my phone. A phone that got burnt out, by the way, because they plugged in my phone to the thing that was the monitor because it has plugs on it. And the phone shouldn't be charging non-stop like that. But I wasn't aware enough to unplug it ever. So it was just always plugged in.
Oh, God.
For the
days.
next 5 days.
Jesus.
So I burnt out the battery on that phone.
Completely.
So by the time I got home, like apparently a couple weeks later, it died completely and wouldn't turn back on. So it got repaired and everything. But I didn't know that.
That's wild.
So I picked up the phone and I remember calling my amazing partner. And so here is the same story up to that point very quickly, because it's a very quick recap. From my partner's point of view, from what she was told from the hospital. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm at the first hospital for 2.5 hours. The last she saw of me, I was being wheeled quickly away to the back room. She was told she had to go after answering a bunch of questions and handing over the information. And she then just went home. And then when I was being checked into the hospital in Sacramento, she got a phone call from that hospital explaining that I was transferred and what had happened.
Okay.
So that's 3.5 hours after she dropped me off at the hospital, no information. And then suddenly he's in a different hospital because he had a stroke, and that one has nobody that specializes in strokes. And then the next thing...
But they were really glad your eyes were open.
Yeah, but they were really glad my eyes were open. And the office was on. That's how I know
They informed her. They were like, we had the office on for him.
The office was on for him the
He
whole
enjoyed
time.
it.
He loved it. He just kept mumbling. He was so happy to be back. So she hears about that, and so is able to say that's what happened. And then the next thing she was told was I was still in the ICU. I was stabilizing, but I had a lot of swelling on my brain. So, and that happens with a stroke, and they didn't quite know what kind of stroke because the swelling was masking it. So you had to get the swelling to go down to be able to check to see. So they didn't know even what danger I was in of having a second stroke right then and there. Because if it's a certain type, then they should have been using something to bring the swelling down, but they didn't know if it was that certain type, because where mine was, I can point to you, but listeners, I can tell you, my right temple, and then take your right eye directly above the pupil about a 1/2 inch, right above that little brow ridge, right where it starts to curve into your forehead. Those two spots had swelled up so much. Everything I just explained to you that I saw, I only saw out of my left eye because my face and head had swollen away vision. So they said at one point, this was days later, they said at one point that my brain swelled up enough that it was almost like I had 2 in there.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And that's how they said
double
it.
Double brain
she
boy.
was very sweet. She was like, yeah, it's so big.
You're almost double
Look,
smart.
Here, you want to see this? Look, it's so big, it's almost like there's 2 in there.
Great nurses.
Bet you could win the spelling bee.
Oh,
She said that to
Jesus
me. And I'm like,
Christ.
I adore you.
Yeah, that's how you win over
Give
Surfer Dan
me
in the
a
hospital.
fucking hug.
Yeah.
Oh my God, lady. So, yeah, James, the guy that was the nurse that helped me into the chair and told me it's been 3 days. James, the next time he had a shift was a couple days later, and he said, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're the one who helped me into the room." It was great. I've been gone a couple days. I'm glad that you remember who I am.
Because you had a fucking stroke.
And he goes, "Is there anything else you remember?" And I go, "You're the one that helped me into the room here from the ICU when I was good enough to get here." He was like, "Yeah, you met me before that, but I understand."
I
And I was like, "What's going on?" And he was like, "I was one of the ones with the crash cart." So remember when I opened my eyes and everything was dark, and then suddenly
everyone was rushing
bright,
in and they
everyone
pushed
was
something
rushing
in. Yeah.
Yeah, I apparently came very close to flatlining, and it had kept popping up very rare, so they had to crash cart me.
Were you having a second stroke?
No, they were worried about having to crash cart me. They didn't end up using the crash cart because I it started.
But just your heart rate and your
out of nowhere. I just stopped. My whole body, everything. I stopped breathing. My whole body just stopped. It was enough that they sent off the sensors, and boom, everybody came in, and then the little bitty bips of he's just barely there. What we're about to, if he goes, whatever we have to do, I don't know, but he said he brought in the crash cart, and they didn't use it on me because they didn't have to, because I started going back up enough that they were able to do medicine, and
yeah,
it was just able to go. I was fine. But he was one of the people there, and so he stayed with me in that room with the cart, just him, because apparently the office was on. He told me this, and he sat down next to me because it was one of his favorite episodes, and it was night, and the nurse was like, "I need somebody to sit with him," and he was like, "I'm right here." So he just sat there and watched The Office with me.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
really
cool.
Apparently we sat there for that half hour, so that's why he wanted to see if I remembered him, because I was Crash Cart James is what he said. And I'm like, that's fucking cool, man. So I had, that's who helped me into the room, was Crash Cart James.
There you go.
And so this guy next to me is screaming, and I'm starting to get a little more caught up in what day it is and what time
reality.
it is. And time is catching up. So I now know. Haven't done a good pull like that, huh? This whole episode I haven't done that. Sorry.
It's been getting some of them still.
I'm monopolizing a lot of time. I know this, but
it's fine. No, we're still good.
But yeah, so I'm realizing that now I'm in this room a couple of days, and I've been able to change the channel. So I've gone back and forth between a few different shows, so I'm not just caught in a loop. So that was, and nobody else was doing a marathon of anything else. But I did find King of Queens quite often. It was weird. Which was a show that my best friend and I used to watch all the time. So it was cool to just kind of just sit there and focus on that and have memories of where we were. And maybe that's the fourth thing that I contribute, that I got tied into. My love of pop culture reminded me of another time in my life, and I was having those memories. So barely sleeping. I can't. I'm in too much pain. You know, hospital beds. I'm in too much
barely
pain
actually.
They are giving me pillows to help me because I'm asking. And then I remember this night nurse. She's the one who said the it's almost like there's two of them.
Night nurses are G's, dude.
She was a beautiful gal.
Night nurses don't fucking play games.
Her name was Lila. Lila was definitely a stoner. So I hope Lila somehow found this podcast.
That'd be awesome,
God
dude.
Damn you, Lila. You helped me so much. And I asked her for an extra pillow, and she was like, "You can't have any more on your back," because I was not supposed to go a certain way, or I can't remember that part. But I was like, "No, it's for putting in front of me up against my chest." And she was like, "Why?" And he said, because it's cold in here, and when it's cold at home, my cat sleeps right up against my chest under the blankets. So my big fat kitty, you know my cat, Andy.
Yeah.
So my big fat kitty, I wanted to feel her there, and that might help me get to sleep. And she was like, that's the sweetest fucking story I've ever heard. Let me go get you a pillow. And so she got me a pillow for that, because I wasn't using it on my back anyway. Ha, ha, ha. So later on that night, I am watching It Chapter 1. And if you've seen It Chapter 1, if not, this is a spoiler for a certain scene.
Like the newer It.
So, yes, the newer It, when they're little kids still in Chapter 1, okay? Little kids, like they're teenagers. Anyway, no teenagers should be offended, because no teenagers should be listening to this podcast.
We're labeled as 18 plus on all platforms.
If you listen to us before you're 18, good for you. Sorry. No, I didn't say that out loud. Yeah, where was I?
Watching It Chapter 1.
Watching It Chapter 1. And I get to the scene where the little kids are about to go into the sewer.
Ooh.
Okay. And another night nurse comes over. His name was Glenn. And I wanted to say something to Glenn, but I didn't want to say something to Glenn at the same time, because it's difficult when you have a nurse and you want to tell them, you are quite possibly the most handsome man I've ever seen in my life. I've done a lot of shows, but Glenn was chiseled.
Glenn the nurse just was
Glenn was
fucking made of marble.
I don't know why he was a nurse. He could have been a cover model for romance novels. I don't know how he was hung. He could have been a porn star, because this
Big, bright,
dude,
shiny star, huh?
This dude. Oh my God. So I couldn't say this to Glenn. I don't know Glenn well enough, but Glenn walks in.
Yeah, and you had a stroke recently.
Yes, and
not
I
in a
just had
position
stroke.
to.
Yeah, I'm not really a, hey, you want to give me a sponge bath? No, but...
He's like, sir, you can't even stand up.
Oh, I could stand.
You're like, only one of my heads had a stroke, big boy.
Come on over. No, so, yeah,
You were taken back.
I'm watching, and he's in there relieving Lila.
Oh, he's relieving.
Yeah, Lila.
Oh.
Lila is
like
going
taking
on a break.
over. Oh, that's much more
And
boring.
so he's going to be helping for a couple hours, kind of thing. And so he's like, "What are you watching?" And I go, "It's the new It movie. It's It Chapter 1." He was like, "So you can't sleep, you're in a hospital, and for a comfort movie, you're watching a horror movie?" And I was like, "You don't know me, Glenn. Horror movies are my comfort movies."
Yeah, you're like, these are my
and
go to sleep movies.
I told him about the convention I go to all the time and just all of this shit. I told him about people I met. We had a conversation for a while. All right? So he goes,
Yeah, and I bet you subconsciously flirted. I feel like you had to have.
Probably.
I feel like there's no way. Even your stroke brain couldn't have avoided it.
But I'm understood enough that we're having a conversation.
yeah, you're there enough.
I'm there now. And I'm thinking, okay, then maybe it's not very serious. Maybe it's maybe I don't know what fucking strokes are. So I don't know.
Even if they came and explained it, you weren't in it enough to hear
At
it
the
or
time,
understand
no.
it yet. Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't until I got to talk to my neurologist, which happens this next morning. So I'm watching it Chapter 1. And now it's at the point where they're about to go into the sewers. And Glenn's left. And I'm watching. And they're in the sewers. And suddenly I smell the sewers. And now I'm afraid I'm having another stroke. Because I don't know what a stroke is.
I smell
don't
toast.
know what a stroke is.
I
and
smell
people
toast.
make the joke about burnt toast. People make the joke about burnt
It's really
feathers.
anything that's not actually there. That's definitely always the sign. Just FYI, listeners, if you smell something that you know you should not be smelling,
Should
and
not
it
be
is
smelling.
intense, like it's almost in your nose, you need to call somebody and find out what the fuck's going on, because that's not good.
And I did smell something, and I remembered it later. because I remember I apparently said something to Dahlia about cookies. I said something to, and so she thought I wanted a cookie for my blood sugar, so she brought me a cookie, and I moved it away. And I remember smelling burnt cookies.
Oh God!
So
Damn
like
it.
that burnt sugary. Yeah. So that's what I remembered, and that makes sense for a diabetic, I think. So that's what I recalled. But so I'm there and I'm smelling the sewer and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm smelling it. I'm like, okay, I don't think that's in my nose. I think so. I press the button for Glenn, and Glenn comes in and he goes
With his big ass muscles.
He goes, hey, what? No, see, it's not like muscular. No, I'm talking like Ryan Reynolds handsome.
Ryan's
Like,
pretty buff. Dude.
He is, but you know how when you put him in a dress shirt, you can't tell?
He's toned.
Yeah, you can tell he's toned.
And
You
in
don't know how
Scrubs, he's
much.
fucking toned.
You don't know how much, but he might have that V right at the pelvis.
Jesus,
yeah,
man.
we don't know. We don't know.
You were
But you can
slutty for
imagine.
him.
You can imagine.
You were slutty for him.
So, he comes in and he goes,
You
hey,
press that button
hey,
anytime.
what happens to be, what's the problem? But he got to, hey, who? Are you okay? And he comes over to check me, and now I'm like, okay, don't touch me, because maybe I can't handle blood flow. So
Yeah, you're worried about your brain and
don't
your
come
other
near me.
brain.
Hold on. And at that moment, he kind of stands up, and he turns around. He goes, "I'll be right back," and he goes
Across
beyond the curtain.
Oh God!
And that's when he turns on the light over there, and then I see curtain partially open from when he walked through, and that's where cleanup begins happening for my friend who had stopped yelling. And it's not until 6 months later after this moment that I'm on a shroom trip with Chuck Dante and Double A. And I remember that that's the last I see of my screaming friend. Because my screaming friend, while I was watching It Chapter 1, died. Shit himself. Probably after.
Yeah.
A lot of us do.
Yeah.
Hate to tell you that. If that's a medical fact you've never heard of before, when
It's
you
probably
die,
gonna
you'll
happen to
probably
you.
get shit.
You just have to be lucky and have shat right before.
Yeah. If you had already evacuated bowels, good job. That's why Elvis died on the toilet. He was just making sure that he was.
Yeah, he pre-gamed.
Nobody had to clean this up.
If one of you mall motherfuckers say too soon about Elvis,
please
don't at me on
please
that.
Don't. 45 years ago, baby.
I can't believe it's only that. I thought it was even longer, to be honest.
45 years, mama. Just say. But yeah, so it wasn't until 6 months later. I just my brain
All of a
didn't
sudden,
remember him. He just wasn't screaming anymore, so he wasn't part of my attention. So I didn't remember him. So I thought I had erased him, and I didn't erase him. But it was on that shroom trip that I remember telling you guys about him dying. I didn't remember he died, and I remember that the moment that I was told he died, that's when I was told he was in the hospital for a stroke. And then I got very scared.
Jesus, yeah.
So that's where I must have blocked it out for 6 months that I was told this information.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel fear until I was told that this person who had died also had a stroke.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what strokes are. So I don't know that there are different types of strokes. Okay?
Yeah, definitely.
So I am explained to what type of stroke I had finally. And I don't want to go into the medical stuff because I don't want people to find me. You could try and find it.
That's
don't know
the
how.
whole reason for patient
I think
confidentiality.
yeah. But
Our podcast is not that.
But
we do not do
when
that.
I was told what it was, I said, and they still didn't have a perfect picture of what it was. My brain was still too swollen, but it was enough in all the right places to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they're talking to me, and they are explaining what kind of stroke I had because they could tell. And they said that, or I remember asking, what did I do? because I told you what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like, am I now so fucking ancient that I am now, remember, ask your doctors if you're healthy to have sex.
Yeah.
I always laughed. Who wouldn't be healthy to have sex? Am I now the one not healthy to have
you
sex?
are at least the one who needs to ask.
Oh, shit. Wait, what happened? I've never asked. I've been afraid to. I just keep going.
That's called a champion move.
That's
right
what
there.
it fucking is. I just realized I'm still holding the bong. Sorry.
No, we've been going good on that one. Actually.
Oh, okay,
Not too
good.
bad. Not too bad.
So, anyway, yeah. So he was gone, and she's telling me that the type of stroke I had, and what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? That's what my brain automatically went to. I did something wrong. Over the last few years, I've changed my diet. I've been exercising more. I've been doing these things to help myself better. But did I do something wrong? So
Yeah.
what did I do? And she says, in the most nonchalant way possible, this neurologist looks me in the eye and says, oh no, this was more than likely something you were born with, and it was just waiting to pop.
God damn. Oh, Jesus.
Pop.
They're not all good at bedside manner.
That was the description of what a stroke
Maybe
was.
it's really accurate.
And
Maybe it's just really just the most
it basically
accurate word.
is something got built up, it exploded in my head and bled into my brain enough that it swelled up to where, oh look, there was
The second one.
two of them in there.
spelling bee champion.
Yes. So it's just a matter of, okay, this is what happened. So it wasn't my fault. So my brain then went through every single scenario that, why didn't it pop then? I've had head injuries. Why the fuck didn't it pop then? No clue. No clue. I still freak out to this day every time I have a headache that starts in those spots where I described. I'm like, oh shit, is this number 2? Because it goes down. In the first year, statistics say that 80% of stroke victims are in danger of having a second stroke within the first year. I made it through the first year without.
Hell yeah, you
made
did,
it through
baby.
the second year without. My odds are now down to like 35%, I believe. So I'm doing
We
okay.
like those going down.
It keeps going because the longer you've gone without a stroke, that's what I'm feeling. That's how I feel. That I'm still not 100%, but that's how I feel. So I remember talking to Dahlia. I remember calling other people. I called Carmel Camel because he called me back from the missed call that I had in the interview and left a weird butt dial of mumbling, is what he said. I was kind of saying things, but he couldn't quite. And it was something about our old podcast, but he was like, are you okay? And then he found out I had a stroke, and he was like, oh, that's when he called me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how that came about. So I was able to answer some phone calls because my phone's sitting there, and I've got all these text messages and all these calls of all these amazing people and all these social media comments of people. Oh my God, is he okay? What's going on? And caring. And I felt bad for them. I did. I didn't. I felt bad. I was making people worry. I was very. I did.
Can't do anything about that. Can't control that.
I didn't want people to worry, so I felt like I had to reach out to everybody. So I posted a few things, and looking back on some of them, man, I had a stroke.
Yeah.
Because some of those posts that came about at the hospital, they're gone from the internet at the moment. But some of those posts was like, I had words there, but there were extra letters in those words.
And you're just like,
that I don't know what language that came from, but you got the gist. You understood. Enough was there. You got it.
yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
He's alive. He had a stroke. He's alive.
Yeah, he's there.
He's there.
He's live and in person.
And I was better on the phone talking than I was texting.
Yeah.
I was having
definitely.
problems remembering things.
Oh, for a while.
I could describe that. That's a different part. The remembering things once I got back.
Yeah.
That's a different. That was wrong meds.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
That
Yeah,
was
that is
not
true.
the stroke.
Yeah,
I
you
can't
did
blame
have
the
that
stroke.
change.
Because I was just having issues of, and it's my brain trying to rewire what it had. So they said memory loss can happen, and I have lost some things. There's certain things, and I discover every day something new, something little that I'm like, oh, I don't quite remember that. But then there's moments like earlier today talking to Chuck Dante, remembering a story he told me a long time ago in a specific moment. And
Yeah.
that was cool for him and cooler for me that I was able to pull that out.
Yeah.
I'm like, I talk about the monkeys that run my way back.
Absolutely.
OG, super spam. No. That fucking monkey just ran up and said, "Hey, sorry you had a stroke," and handed me the exact. So, but every now and then it would just be like, it was like big chunks were gone, and it's not like I forgot people, but it was like somebody reached out that I no longer talk to. Reached out and wanted to say that they understood that I had a stroke and they're very sorry and they hope that I have a speedy recovery. Very nice comment. It was a very nice comment, but it was written in such a way that that said, I know we don't speak anymore.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to reach out and just tell you, as a human, I'm very sorry you're going through that.
Yeah.
I know you have enough other issues. I hope you're okay. Because I don't wish you ill. I know we just don't speak.
Yeah.
And I had to read it a few times to remember, what do they mean we don't speak?
Oh, yeah.
And then why don't we speak? Because I didn't want to write, wait, why do we not speak to each other? Because that would be fucked up to hear from somebody who just had a stroke. So we obviously don't speak. They said it. So that person triggered a moment of, I don't remember why we. So it took a little while before I remembered why we. Okay, good. And I couldn't type well enough. Apparently, I did. So if you got a text from me at that time, and
I did.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I did in a phone call with Dahlia.
Wonder if they made sense. Sorry. If the text messages didn't make sense. Sorry.
No, I think they made as much sense as you can expect, and they were, and I think it was very short. I also knew the situation enough to where I was like, well, I'm not trying to have a full ass conversation with this guy. I'm just gonna take the, thank you for the care, and I'm good. You were just assuring.
I didn't like worrying people. I felt bad that I was worrying people.
You were in there for a long time, man. We couldn't.
I was in there for 7.5 days.
7.5 days.
And the day that I left, I'm going to fast forward here because I've monopolized enough time.
Got a little less than an hour recording. I should be fine.
I'm going to just fast forward to the me being finally, because for three days in a row, I was told, okay, so if the swelling goes down enough, you'll be able to go home tomorrow. Okay,
the hospital dance.
That's what it was. It all was a matter of, now the neurologist said something that she said that she had never had to say to a patient before, and she doesn't understand why she has to say it to me now. But part of the problem with the swelling not going down was because my sodium levels were extremely low, because I don't eat a lot of salt. I don't like the taste of salt. I don't like salty things. When I cook, I do the smallest pinch of salt possible to help bring out all the other spices I use, because I use actual flavors. I like adding flavor to things. So salt doesn't need to be there, and salt just hurts my tongue to me. I don't like it. So I don't eat potato chips usually, French fries. I don't usually like a lot of those. Every now and then I'll have a few, but I won't eat an order because of the fact that I don't like salt. I've had to get used to salt because, as she said, I've never said this to a patient before, but you need to increase your salt and you need to decrease your water. I was flushing things out of my system too quickly because of how much water I drink. Like you saw,
was your pee clear all the time?
Quite often.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, no, almost like lightest yellow. So I was flushing too much.
Yeah.
And as a diabetic, I pee a lot anyway.
Yep.
So for it to always be somewhat clean,
that shit's so stupid.
I was drinking so much fucking water because I'm a stoner and I get dry mouth and I like to not have dry mouth. So I drink a lot of fucking water. So I had to.
We all relate on that fact right
I
there.
had to increase my sodium. So I'd stopped drinking soda entirely for like 3 years. At that point, I would have it as a mixer whenever I had whiskey every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have like a little bit of a Diet Coke. But I was like, if I'm going to be diabetic, I'm not going to drink Diet Coke. And then all these zero sugars came out just in time where I needed to increase my sodium, and carbonated beverages have some ambient sodium. And because of it, it makes you crave salty foods.
Yeah.
So I was able to eat like peanuts with having a soda. So I had to start drinking soda again, thankful zero sugar.
Yeah.
So way to go, zero sugar drinks.
Hell yeah.
A&W is my favorite.
Uh,
Close second, Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper cream soda is top of the Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt there at all.
that's the thing.
7.5 fucking days, man. That shit was crazy.
Yeah.
That shit was really nuts.
And so the day I'm finally leaving, now I didn't know the hospital told my amazing partner that the type of stroke I had is typically 12 to 16 days.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to talk about. Was like you got out way quicker than they thought.
Because you were there you were told when Dahlia was told that I was going to be in there for 12 to 16 days.
Yeah, absolutely.
That information went out to a lot of people. And so when that information went out, everybody just was like, okay, just keep giving me updates. And at 7.5 days, my neurologist walked in there and said, you should not be leaving today. Everything about what has happened to you says you should be here 12 to 16 days.
At least another like 6 days.
But everything about your body right now is saying you get to go home. And
you had like in this point, you'd had some walks at the hospital.
Oh, I'd walked around a lot. Yeah,
you'd been up
at one point. The physical therapist was like,
it.
because I was having a memory issue because she had asked me a question I couldn't remember, and I was getting kind of caught in a loop of the question and then trying to remember the story to answer the question and then forgetting the question.
Yeah.
As she asked me, so she had me call Dahlia while we were walking and said, is there anything you could say that can jog his memory? And Dahlia said, because I'm a performer, I'm a professional storyteller, I've toured, and she said, tell her your one-man show. And I started, and we walked around that hospital for a full hour, and I didn't get tired. I told the whole story.
That's awesome.
I just performed it. So acting really did save me a bit because it jogged that memory of her doing that. So I was happy that she was.
We were happy you were able to come home early too. Of course.
I don't know how. I don't know why, but it was able to. And then
willpower, like Batman.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Maybe I deserve a Green Lantern.
I mean,
I've never thought I would have willpower, but I guess so.
I feel like. No matter okay, you can equate it to theater and stuff like that, but either way, you gotta want it.
Well, and
you gotta want it.
It was, I think,
if it was to make us not worried, that's the thing too. But it's still you gotta want it.
But
you had to want it that bad.
I think a lot of it has to come from as well of everything was delayed for me since time was so wonky because my brain was broken because I had a fucking stroke.
Big old stroke. Second brain stroke.
Yeah. So since that happened and time was so fucking wonky, everything was delayed. So by the time I had fear about what had happened and was able to start putting in and having all those big questions about your own mortality and everything that happens when a
lot goes through your head when you're sitting in a hospital going
more
through
than
what you're going through.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
you start trying to, and it's hard when your brain is broken because you had a stroke.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
But I was trying to remember the last thing I remember vividly seeing a text message from you, AA, and trying to remember the last thing I said to you.
Yeah.
Like physically in person said to you.
Yeah.
Or even over the phone said to you.
Yeah, just
and I was
audibly.
trying, and before the stroke, I would able to remember exactly the last thing that I
Yeah.
had said to you, and it's gone now. I can't remember the last thing I said to you. Like when I leave here, I won't remember tomorrow. I won't remember the exact phrase. But I used to be able to do that, so I was trying to remember the last thing I said to you because I hoped beyond hope that it was some iteration of "I love you."
Yeah.
Because once the fear set in, I thought I was dying. Once that man was gone,
Yeah.
I knew I was dying. Once I recalled the fact that I was now being given the drug to help me sleep that they used to give to World War II amputees, I was getting morphine every night.
Yeah, morphine's amazing.
And I could see why I don't understand pain pills. They hurt my stomach. I don't like pain pills. I hated cocaine. There's lots of drugs that I do not get along with. Morphine, I can understand why I would have a lifelong addiction to morphine.
Yeah, I can
I've
understand
never
why you
slept
shouldn't-
harder.
I can understand why you can't just put that in a pill.
Yeah, no, don't. I can understand why I've got to be in a hospital for
And
you
like
to
in
give
a
me that
serious thing, yeah, because
there's
wow.
gotta be because if I could
That is,
buy my
I
way
didn't know
into
magic
getting-
could be a drug.
Yeah, I know. Oh,
It's
thank
like,
you.
yeah, I've had it twice. Definitely one during my hospital stay as well, and then another time when I tore
I
every
remember
ligament in
you
my
telling
ankle.
me that was a drug in common. Yes. Oh my God, you were like, did they give you morphine? Morphine.
Yeah.
Oh
it's
my
just-
God, I could understand if you're a morphine addict. Please, I understand. But
It's definitely
how do you get it?
yeah.
I want to get some. Because I
Black
would like
market
to
shit
sleep.
right there.
Oh my God, I would sleep so well. But anyway, yeah. So I was able to come home, and it was
Continuously get better after
I was-
getting on right medication.
yeah. There was this scary patch there for a while there, which is a long story, which I've already told you on. But yeah, it's just wrong medication sent my cognitive decline.
and very much obviously doing pretty well
Yeah,
now.
and obviously,
Like you said, you feel
I
like you're not
stutter.
at 100%.
That comes back. No, I may never be 100%, but
Because
like
that generally happens to
it
stroke
just
victims.
happens. You lose something, and it's not a matter of I've lost something. It's just a matter of it's no longer there. It's not going to be there.
Yeah.
So there's no matter of
Damage.
I can find it again.
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
just
gone.
damage.
Okay, it's gone.
Yeah.
And I like my arm will cramp up into such a way that I need to like stretch it out a little bit more. But that's nothing. It's really nothing. And like in moments of stress or if I'm really overthinking,
and that just
things,
makes sense too.
I notice my stutter from when I was a child comes back. That I just kind of skip words. Like it sounds like I start a word, and I might have done it on the air. I don't know. I might have in one of the recordings. I might have,
Maybe, yeah. Possibly.
but I also would like to think my brain. I've done enough recordings in life. I'd like to think my brain just automatically goes, oh, because I don't and as much as I do off the air, on the air. Because
Yeah, no, when you're
off
not
the air,
caring
I'm
as
like,
much, yeah.
"Oh, yeah."
Yeah.
But off the air, it's and ahhing all the time. But I'm in mode. So
Yeah, I think you're doing very good for
So-
the time frame outside of how bad of a
Yeah.
issue that was,
Yeah.
and also being on the rod medication for a little bit.
and that's what really sent it in a decline where I actually had to go through a whole bunch of other specialists and everything. But anyway, it was just a matter of that I had a fucking stroke, and I didn't know, and it was again COVID. So when I got home, now things are picking up even worse. And
Yeah.
you have to tighten up your bubble. But like I said, you guys were already in our bubble.
Yeah, we were in the middle of entirely
So,
being together anyway. Every night.
If there's some of the story when I sit down and put pen to paper and write all of this, all the recovery part and everything, there's a lot of the story that involves UAA.
Oh yeah,
Because you guys were there. You guys saw me at some of my lowest moments, and you saw me at some of my, oh shit, I remembered something, or I did something right.
oh yeah,
So it's amazing that it's that last piece of the puzzle, that fifth thing that I say saved me is these amazing friends that I have that were there to support me, that were continuously calling me, that were showing up even if I barely remember a visit. They were still there to help show, no, how are you?
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times I told the same story to the same person because I forgot I already told them that. But I did that a little before the stroke. So that's,
Yeah.
but
Maybe
yeah,
just accentuate that.
That's
that
that
fact
last
now.
thing. That last thing is that love and support of friends that were thankfully enough in the middle of a pandemic to be part of the bubble to help be there to support.
Exactly.
And
that
that's
inner
a lot of
circle that you
pressure
already kept.
off of Dahlia. But yeah, that. So I was. Apparently the type of stroke that I had once I got back, it was about a month later before the swelling was enough that they could pinpoint exactly where the stroke happened, where the ruptures happened, where they popped, for lack of a better term.
Because that bedside manner was
so
on the low end.
And they said, okay, so we got your result back. And I go, let me guess. And I put my finger on my right temple, a little low on your right temple. And then right above the pupil, about a ½ inch above the eyebrow. And he looked down and he was like, that's exactly right. And he showed me the picture. Because that's on your right side, because the image is flipped.
Yeah.
And so he's like, that's on your right side, right there. I'm like, oh, yep. No, that's exact. And he goes, how did you know? I go, because every time I have a migraine, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Since I was little, that's where it starts. So talk about it's been with me my whole life, but it should have popped. Every one of those fucking migraines should have popped it, but never fucking did. So yeah.
It waited till it knew you had the willpower to survive, dude.
Talk about facing your mortality. It was, you guys would have had to come back. And I had these weird visions. It was so weird.
You fucking gypsy woman.
No, it was while I was in the hospital. It was these visions of what my friends would have to deal with if I was gone. Like I there's a normal joke of somebody clear my browser history. There's that, but I'm like, look, we're human. I don't think anything. I really don't think anything I've searched would drastically shock you.
Or change someone's general opinion,
you'd
really.
Look at it and go, not my thing, but all right.
He's in it.
You like to see Tinkerbell fucked with a dildo attached to Captain Hook's hook, go to town. Whatever floats your boat. The longer you're on this planet, the more focused your porn searches get. And, that's what I'm saying.
You find your taste.
You find exactly
You find your taste.
And it changes from jerk to jerk. So this time it doesn't do it. So now it's like, ooh, bridles. I like this.
Oh.
Yeah. So that kind of thing. But yeah. So there's those type of jokes. I had this vision sitting there while there was nothing on TV, so I just had it on mute on the same channel that they were like, hey, in a half hour, we're starting a double episode block of Seinfeld. Well, then I'm going to watch that, but that's in a half hour. So I'll just have the TV on mute, and I'll just sit there. And I text people back sometimes, but I remember sitting there and I text you or something, or your name came up in somebody else's text, like, yes, I heard from AA. But it would be these moments where I would go, okay, what do they have to do? And I had this picture of what would 42 Strains would have to do, like a in memoriam episode for Surfer.
It would be pretty
Dan.
tough, yeah.
And I'm like, that would be the shittiest episode of the podcast. I would hope nobody would listen to that episode because that would be I would rather you guys just not tell the spam. Just joke that he's just too old to be here.
We couldn't.
But yeah, I just felt so bad that you guys would have to do one of those cheesy in memoriam episodes for my old ass.
Well,
all the jokes.
We're very glad we didn't have to do
about.
that. Very glad we didn't have to do that.
So I'm having recovery. I'm sitting there watching the treasure hunter shows on the island.
Oh, Curse of Oak Island.
Oak Island, thank you.
Don't even get me started. The new season just happened, and it's pretty
I
wild.
stopped many seasons ago because I watched that during recovery, and I can't go back to that. There's really something that I can't go back to. My brain. I've tried because I was interested. It's a fun ride, little show.
Yeah,
good waste of time.
I think it's just good, like
when
fun
you
little
physically
piece
can't
of
move
history.
a lot after a stroke, and you're stuck on a couch. You can just watch straight through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get it. I understand, but I can't go back to it. So, but I'm sitting there watching that, and you're the one, Double A, that got me into that.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, because I remember saying, well, in a smoke session, it was like, I'm looking for something to just veg out to. So if I end up napping, because I was sleeping, but not like in big chunks. So it would be like a couple hours here, hour there, 4 hours. Hey, I made it 4 hours, that kind of thing. So, but it was all over the place. We never knew when I was going to fall asleep. I think I fell asleep on you guys visiting at least once or twice.
Pretty late nights, though.
But yeah, it was, so I remember sitting there watching this because you got me into that. And I remember hearing your text message alert, which is smoke weed every day. That is your text message alert.
Properly.
So I remember hearing that and go, that's funny because I'm watching the show that you got me into. So I pick up my phone to text you back whatever you were going to fucking say. I was just going to ignore it. And I was going to text you back. I'm literally watching Oak Island and I'm one episode away from the end of this season. What the fuck do you want? I was just going to joke with you like that. And I look down and there's this picture of you in a hospital gown sitting in a fucking gurney.
Yeah, barely 7 months later.
Barely 7 months later. And I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah. Pretty serious. So my diabetes is what put me there. And kind of like you not knowing what happened, I also didn't know what was happening at the time. It kind of started as my vision became cloudy around November. Beginning of November, early, like late October. Like actually at the Halloween party.
Oh, wow.
Like my vision was blurry. Like I actually like kind of needed glasses.
Wow.
Like, things were like kind of blurry. I just thought like, well, both my parents need glasses. All my grandparents wear glasses.
Hereditary.
My little brother needs glasses. Like I just was like, oh, I'm finally like my eye. Honestly, figured
caught up.
Can't believe it took this long. You know, like was not really that abnormal a thing. Made an eye appointment. End up getting like 3-4 weeks later.
Your brain was trying to solve a problem.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, I need to go get my eyes checked out blatantly. Like I'm at the store trying to get corrective lenses and shit.
Do I just need magnification?
Yeah, I'm just like, what the hell is going
there?
on? Yeah, and so I'm like, yeah, I definitely need my eyes checked out. That's all I'm thinking. And then about 3-4 weeks later, I just feel super sick, and I just get super duper sick. I haven't felt this sick in years. The last time I felt this sick is when I got the flu that had not come out yet, that they didn't have a vaccine for. Like, you know, there's a flu every year, and you get your flu vaccine.
Yep.
I caught the flu that was for next year.
For the next.
So I like actually.
So they didn't have any way
in the valley. No, they actually they had to take my samples to make the vaccine.
Wow.
Like in the valley,
done.
in the valley area.
So safe.
I did. I think it's kind of cool. And thank God I lost 12 pounds that week when I was an absolute athlete and barely had 4% body fat at that time.
Wow.
It was, I came back from at school and people thought I looked like death. It was pretty crazy.
Wow.
So I'd felt like that again in my 20s now. And I'm like, wow, this really fucking sucks. I can't keep anything down. I think it's kind of like like a flu, something of that nature.
Yeah.
And so I'm treating it naturally, like, you know, Sprite for upset tummy, you know, eating some yogurt.
Smoke a little?
Definitely trying to smoke when I can, but I'm like keeping nothing down, you know, and it's just going horrible. I finally have like, because it's COVID, like, super heat of COVID. Like this is
that
like,
what
this is now a bunch of deaths later. Like this is like,
we're watching every night on the news. The new number.
Yeah, this is in November of 2020. This is like super bad. And I get basically like a little Zoom appointment with a doctor who says it's either two things. It's either you have, and here's the reason that this doctor was not able to diagnose me, not only because the Zoom appointment, but I think if I told him this one thing, he would have known.
Okay.
And it was my vision. I didn't mention to him my vision thing.
Why?
Because I didn't make that correlation at all. That started weeks ago. The sickness was 3 days ago.
Got you. Okay.
I'm like, I'm sick. My vision could give a fuck.
Yeah.
It's just, like, what the hell is going on inside
me? I've already figured.
Yeah, completely covered.
Gotcha.
And so I don't tell him that. And so he goes, it's either food poisoning or it's the flu. You have the flu. It's the wintertime. You have the flu.
You have the flu.
I'm like, okay, that sucks. I'm like, okay, so if it doesn't go away, like go to the hospital. He's like, yeah, definitely. If it doesn't go away in the next 3-4 days, and not even 12 hours later, 6 a.m. after I had like a 6 o'clock appointment like that night on Zoom.
Yeah.
I wake up from a relatively hard sleep, and I 100% feel like I can't breathe oxygen, and like my chest is pounding, and I'm like literally like awoken by this. Like I'm like awake, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like, and I'm just like, what the fuck, like. Going absolutely crazy. My oxygen's completely depleted in my mind. Like I don't know what's going on, and I basically like tell Rue like, hey, like I need to go to the emergency room. Like this is at a
Something's
point now.
wrong.
Finally, where like this is more than sick.
Yeah.
Like this is not a flu. Like that's at the point where like my breathing should not really be this much of an issue. She's working unfortunately, and like it takes her a little bit longer. But my mom is able to come get me and take me to the emergency room pretty quick. It's like a 20-minute drive.
Yeah.
You know, like she was there very
Nothing.
my mom's wonderful, amazing, totally responsive to any time I call her, which is I'm so thankful for that day, of course.
Yeah.
I get rushed to the emergency room, heat of COVID. She can't even come in there. Yeah. At this point it has been about 30 minutes of me feeling the same. Nothing has gotten better. This is not I can't fucking breathe, even though I can. Here's what I don't know. I am breathing fine. My oxygen's actually 100. Like I have 100 oxygen rate right now, but I am like cannot breathe. Like I am just not breathing, and insane. Yeah, when I found that out, it blew my mind. Because I get to the emergency room,
you're drowning
in nothing. It's not even that. It's not even oxygen that is the problem. It's because I get to the emergency room. I have to sign my own papers and shit because it's COVID, and my mom can't stay in there. And so I'm like sitting there like like literally like barely able to stand, like filling out as much as I can, get rushed into the ICU all the way to the back. Like I don't even sit down, you know, like they take me like right to the back and pretty much get me hooked up. I get immediately double IV'd. I'm double IV'd in the arm in a gurney. I'm not in a hospital bed. I'm in a gurney. That's important for later. And then they draw a bunch of blood.
Yeah.
They ask me a bunch of questions.
I was double IV too. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that shit's crazy.
Bruises, I remember my bruises.
What I want to say, I went to St. Joseph's. I just want to shout out St. Joseph's because they really did do an amazing job with me.
I am not mentioning the first hospital.
That's fine. You don't have to. Yeah, I enjoyed my hospital, and they did
Kaiser, awesome. South Sacramento.
Hey, there we go.
Hospital,
which is cool. Kaiser even gets a shout out. Shit,
I will shout them out. That entire team. Everybody there I just outed Glenn and
yeah, you definitely outed Glenn.
James. God, Glenn, find me.
And so I pretty much get hooked up. I get asked a bunch of questions. They're being very calm, and so I'm being very calm.
Yes,
as calm as I can be. Where I'm like, I'm sitting there answering questions like. And I'm like, I can't breathe. And they're like, okay, what else has been going on? And I tell them, and I'm being at their level. Like, I'm able to just, like, match their energy. So as long as they're not freaking out, I'm not going to freak out. I'm going to sit here, fucking stab me, fucking as many times as you need. You're professionals. Like, that's, honestly, Boy Scouts is the only reason I think I was able to do that. Because I took wilderness survival. I took things of, here's
panicking
things.
Is the worst thing you can do.
Panicking is never going to help you. So I'm like, cool, as long as you're not panicking, I'm not panicking. Perfect. We're not panicking together. Yep. And
they all go on this ride.
They basically put me on like IVs of just like liquids, like general bag or whatever, and
whatever they automatically need to make sure what's going on.
I find out my heart rate. They test my oxygen. It says 100.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Well, your oxygen's fine." My heart rate comes up, and it's 150.
Is that bad?
A resting heart rate generally is like 70 to 80.
Yeah.
So I'm like my heart is pumping at almost twice the amount. So the problem actually is I can't breathe fast enough. I'm literally my blood and oxygen is pumping so hard that I literally can't even catch it. Yeah. Like, so that just tripped me out completely when they said that. I was like, okay. And so that's when I was like, it did help though. I think like knowing the information helped me kind of just like, well, now that I know what's happening in there, let me try to like feel that and react to that biologically if I can.
Did they at that moment know why your heart rate? Okay, they just were like, well, there's the issue.
They're like, that's why you can't breathe right. We're going to go get your blood test, take these liquids, just try to calm down, try to drink this water. It kind of helped. It's like, and at this point, my body's been so stressed out.
Yeah.
I'm like a stiff stick.
Yeah.
My whole body just hurts. It's
Well,
just
and
like,
you're in a gurney.
I'm also in a gurney.
Yeah.
This is probably like hour 2 at this point. And then I get moved out of ICU real quick because I get kind of like stable. I tell them like, yeah, I'm like, all right. Like I can sort of breathe.
Yeah.
They take me out. It's so packed in this hospital. I'm now in a hallway. I'm just in a hallway looking out through windows into the parking lot.
Wow.
I'm nowhere near
What
other
have you-
beds. There's no machinery.
Yeah.
It's just a
because
fucking hallway
you are
for walking.
7 months.
because this is
Now 9
middle
months
of heat of
into
winter
the-
COVID.
yeah.
Like they are full.
Yeah.
They are fucking
Yeah.
full. I've had a lady come in screaming bloody murder already at this point for pain, and she
Yeah.
doesn't know where the pain's coming from. It was just going ballistic, and they're like, we can't just give you anything anywhere, you know? Like, yeah, they had some
We
issues.
don't have a magic pill to fix random
Yeah.
pain. We
Then
need to
I'm
figure
still
out-
feeling a lot of pain. I'm not really a complainer, even in the hospital. I just kind of go, I'm handling this.
Yeah.
So I don't really.
What
They
number
know
did you give them?
at first.
Yeah.
Oh, I said a 9.
You said a 9. Oh,
I said a 9 because once I was at least in the gurney, plugged in, answered a couple questions, and they got to that like, well, what's the pain like?
yeah,
I had relaxed a little.
yeah.
And I didn't feel like I was dying. When I was signing papers before getting to bed, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to pass out right now and die. I was just like,
Oh wow!
it just, the way the
Okay.
oxygen is, I'm like, is my brain going to be okay with this? I just know how, like, the connection of oxygen and brain is just important. So I'm like, sitting there. Also, 7 months ago,
Yep.
my friend had a absolute fucking stroke.
A stroke.
So I'm sitting there like, I didn't know the exact symptoms. I'm like, am I having a stroke? You know,
Yeah.
like not directly, but it's
I
just,
don't
I
know
know
what
my
a stroke
brain.
is.
Yeah, my brain is
Yeah.
just like, am I gonna pass out and
Yeah.
something really bad's gonna happen right now? But then it's like, again, once I got around professionals
Yep.
in a thing, not freaking out, I'm not freaking out. That's when it was like 9, not a 10.
There you go.
9,
If
not
you
a
were,
10.
If you were a stupid person and just sat on the couch for like 12 hours, you might have freaked yourself out at home.
And so eventually I do kind of like another nurse comes in and asks me, oh, I am just peeing like crazy. I forgot to mention one of the symptoms of high blood sugar, because it's diabetes, obviously. We already know that.
Spoiler.
So, yeah, spoiler alert, diabetes. When you're extremely high blood sugar, your body eats water
Yeah.
and gets so high and destroys your potassium. I'm talking, you are fucking drinking water and you're splashing water on a stove, in
Yeah.
a stove top. It's just, you couldn't drink enough water to
Put a hose
satiate.
in your mouth while standing in front
I've
of
never
a
been
urinal
thirsty while
pissing.
drinking. I've
Yeah.
never been thirsty while
Yeah.
drinking water until that
Until
moment.
now.
It's like I'm drinking water, and wow, I'm so thirsty
Yep.
while this is happening.
I've
How
been
is
there.
that possible?
Yeah, yeah.
Insanity.
It's like
That was a
I-
big one. So it's like I kept telling her bring me
this
water.
just isn't watery enough water.
No.
is what I think.
How is this not wetting my tongue?
How is this?
How's this not like
what is going on here?
yeah, drenching my mouth?
Do I
Like,
need to like put a layer of something?
Yeah.
Over
Do I need
like
oil?
syrup?
What's
What-
happening?
Vegetable oil.
It's just yeah, it
But
was
oil and water
that
don't
I couldn't
mix. That's the
believe.
only thing.
It's super funny. Even like a couple weeks before I got sick, Rue was kind of like, I mean, diabetes, and I was like,
Really?
yeah.
So somebody brought that up.
Yeah, Rue like just off mentioned because she kind of knew about the dehydration thing. She was like, I mean, diabetes, and I was like, at this time I didn't know my mom's pre-diabetic, my grandma's dad was full diabetic, and my grandma's sister is full diabetic. Didn't know any of this, so I knew no family history. So I went, I don't think so. I was like, I'm a little overweight right now. I drink a bit of soda. I was like,
Yeah,
but
the
I don't think I'm
You're proof diabetes doesn't mean
is
that.
exactly because I didn't know what diabetes was.
Yep.
Because I
'Cause
didn't
most
know.
people don't.
No, they don't.
They don't. We get a
even though
picture
it's like the leading killer in the world. basically.
Diabetes. We get a picture of diabetes from pop culture and it's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
And so, you know, now I'm in the hallway. I'm just waiting. I'm peeing a lot, but I still need a lot of water. I'm still dehydrated as hell. I finally tell them.
Are you? I hate to get personal, but are you bucket peer?
Yeah, I had to
They-
pee in the bucket.
You had? Did you? Was it an actual bucket or was it?
It was a handled.
handled
looked like a
red
pitcher.
bag. Red that looks like a pitcher that has a flap.
Mine
that you
was
close-
clear, but yeah,
Perfect. Okay.
absolutely.
I hate to get into this, but I know I have to because
Oh, I was
I'm high
so
and
scared
this
of
is-
cutting my dick on that fucking
Yeah.
lid.
First of all, that plastic is sharp. Why do
It
they
is
make
not sanded or worked or anything.
Why is the
It
inside of
is
that plastic
so sharp.
I'm supposed to put my dick in a hole,
And I'm
you
so
make the
low
hard
energy.
yeah,
I'm
that
just
I'm
like, dude,
worried
even
about
holding
not
my dick a
holding it
certain
up.
way is like exhausting
yeah.
while holding this bucket.
Have you
or this
ever
pitcher thing.
in your life peed sideways?
Yes, now.
Now,
Yes, now.
but before,
that, no, not. I've never peed the ways I've had to pee in that gurney, dude.
that's
it's
the
a whole nother
weirdest,
world.
weirdest fucking thing.
Whole
right?
nother world.
There's
Yeah.
nothing that tells you any frame of reference of how to do this.
No.
Did it take
were
you
never
a while
taught it.
to start?
The first couple. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like I have the
I don't-
feeling to pee,
I
but
know
my
I
God, this
have
is
to
taking
pee.
ages.
It's hurting that I have to pee,
Yeah,
but my
'cause
body's
I think
like they're not
energy-
in the right position.
It's just energy level so low.
Yeah.
Like you're just
Yeah,
so,
that
and
you just
especially the
give in.
potassium level. It's like,
I got pretty good at it after a while. But
but definitely by like day 3, yeah,
yeah,
it was like
you
I'm a
got-
champion.
you
Like,
can like lift up the
yeah.
just yeah. No. You can
So-
start holding it sideways.
yeah, and that's pretty much all I'm doing for hours right
Yeah,
now. Like
just
I'm waiting for these
drinking
blood
and peeing,
tests, I
drinking and
think,
peeing.
and I've just not been told anything. It's like like I'm just waiting
so
for
Rue
blood
knows
results.
shit too.
Yeah, she knows nothing. I'm like, unlike you, like the better thing about my trip was definitely like I was more cognitive. Obviously,
Yes,
like
very
I'm
much,
my was definitely
You didn't have a stroke.
no. I did not have a
Yes.
stroke. Thank everything that I
Yes.
did not have a stroke.
Yes.
I was very conscious.
Not
Sort of unfortunate, but
downplaying-
still more fortunate than that.
not
like
downplaying 150 beats per minute.
heart rate, but
yeah,
it's
I'm
still.
not downplaying any of that.
But-
you just knew where.
Yeah,
you
I
were.
was conscious.
So, yes.
I can text people. I can call someone. I
So
can
you
have
were
a
able to give
conversation.
Rue updates
Yeah, I can
while you were-
update
I'm just
as they're
peeing a
coming,
lot.
which
I'm
I was so fortunate for people who are concerned about me already.
Well, and you and I had a conversation because I got the
Yeah.
photo from that hallway
Exactly.
that you
And-
were peeing in.
Yeah, and
I hope at
you
least
got that
once
picture
during that text you were peeing during. I hope. No,
No,
All right.
probably right after though. I had to pee a
Good.
lot.
You had that's true. That's true.
And so eventually, a few hours later, doctor comes out, and this is actually like the first time I've seen a doctor. I've only seen like nurses really. Maybe a
checking
doctor at the
blood
very
pressure.
beginning, and I didn't
Yeah.
know if they were a doctor.
And your blood pressure was fine. And
Oh yeah, I actually generally have never had a bad blood pressure test.
Oh.
I've always had good blood pressure, always. But he comes out and he goes, so hello, my name's Doctor whatever. Don't even remember his name.
Doctor Blobbity blah.
Yeah, Doctor blah blah blah. He's like, we got your blood tests back. He goes, do you have any like history of diabetes, or do you
Yes.
know? And I was like, I mean, no. I was like,
No.
not at all.
You're fine.
I was like, oh, I was like, my great aunt has diabetes. I didn't know she had diabetes. That was pretty much it. I was like, yeah, my great aunt has diabetes, type 1, I believe. And
Okay.
he's like, okay, do you know much about it? And I was like, no, not at all. I don't talk
Fat
to her.
people get it. I'm not fat.
I at least wasn't that.
Oh,
I at
okay,
least
good.
didn't think just like overweight
I
meant
remember telling
diabetes
somebody
because my aunt isn't really overweight.
I remember telling somebody I was diabetic, and they looked at me and said, "You're not that big."
Yes,
like-
that's very common. Yeah, that is really common.
What? Yeah, no, that's
And-
the weirdest comment to say to somebody.
Yeah, exactly. And so he goes, "Well, you definitely have type 1 diabetes."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wow, okay."
Okay.
I was like, "That's crazy." That already was crazy. It's a little
Type
crazy
1
news.
is
Genetic.
you've got diabetes.
And mine is even a weird type 1,
Yes,
which is
'cause
funny
there's
too.
subsets
There
of
is
type
technically more than 2 types of diabetes.
Yes.
There is.
Yes.
There's
a
technically
couple of
like
subsets.
4 or 5
because
even.
each one has like it's this, but this.
Yeah. There's like a 1.5 some people call it too. It's a little weird.
I am 2, but I was genetically predisposed.
Yes,
to be,
because pre-diabetic is also a thing.
Mom was 1.
Exactly. And so you can be genetically handed down from a type 1 but only be pre-diabetic your whole life type of thing. And so basically he's like, yeah, you have type 1 diabetes. And I was like, okay. He's like, so we did your blood, your blood tests on your blood. All tests came back, normal and good and very healthy, which is a very good thing because we tested your blood sugar and it was at 750.
Whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. So for our listeners who don't know anybody diabetic, please tell them the generally safe range.
Yeah, a person who has a working pancreas that doesn't have diabetes, you're generally around 90 to 110. So I was about 7 times.
You were 7.
I was 7 times the normal blood sugar levels, which he then immediately followed with no hesitation, I might add. Again, because
Yes.
that's why I laughed at kind of, you're like, their bedside manner's not always the best. He just goes, yeah, your blood sugar was at this, which almost all the time puts someone in what's called a catatonic diabetic coma.
Yeah.
And he then immediately says, and thank goodness your blood work came back good for all the other things, because that is basically the only reason you're alive right now and not in a coma.
Wow.
Because he then explains that when someone goes into that type of coma, it's so hard for your body to process even our insulin because you're in a coma
Yeah.
and your body's operating at 20, 30%,
Exactly.
that they die. They just die, or they can't wake up because and they have no time frame.
When they show up.
And so that was just an immediate hit. It was, I'm in the middle of a hallway by myself, middle of COVID, with a doctor that had no introduction really, just immediately was like, that is pretty much the only reason you're awake and alive right now, because you're 25 and healthy in every other aspect of your body.
Everything but.
Otherwise, you should definitely, he's like, we are going to get you on insulin right now.
Yeah.
Someone's going to come and fill you with insulin and teach you what diabetes is.
Second.
And I'm glad you're here and awake.
You're
and I was like,
changing your life.
yeah, thank
Hey,
you.
I'm glad your eyes are open.
Yeah, it really, yeah, very much glad your eyes are open.
Yeah.
So I immediately get started on all this insulin. A little bit before that, I did mention the pain to another nurse, and I got some morphine. And that was probably what allowed me to take that news okay, because it was about 30 minutes prior to hearing that.
yeah.
And it's like, I'm heavy into this like shot of morphine.
You for this.
Yeah, and I'm like, I should be dead?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank God I don't feel like I'm dying right now.
Yeah.
And thank God you told me I'm not going to, because, that's a lot to take in right now. I'm 25 fucking years old. I've barely lived a quarter of a life that I sort of expect to live living healthy, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was just absolutely bonkers.
At that moment, planning a marriage.
Yeah, at that moment, planning to get married, planning to have a family at some point, all kinds of crazy stuff, like, so that is, you very shortly got the text of picture of that after, because I'm now thinking like, I'm going to talk to everyone I know and love real quick, just real fast, because I'm able to talk to everyone right now, and I'm going to.
I remember you telling me that you joined the club.
And I can't tell you viewers, not by coincidence at all, but only maybe a few months before that, we were just having a trip and we're in a grocery store getting some stuff.
Yeah.
And I just very passingly make the joke of like, careful, Surfer Dan, don't get too close to me. You'll give me the diabetes.
You'll give me the diabetes.
No joke. And this was a running joke for like months.
And
like
the text I get is, well, I joined the club. Looks like you gave me the diabetes.
Yeah. Which is
like,
the only way I think to text you that information.
What are you talking
Before telling
about?
you the real news of like, hey, I almost died. I love you. Sorry. Fuck.
Yeah, that was...
Which was my fault, really, because I treated it like a flu. As I mentioned before, I was eating yogurt, drinking Sprite, having Gatorade.
Mine has an upset stomach and a headache.
It's just
a
like
stroke.
When you don't know what you have, you're not a doctor. It's really weird.
Take your frame of reference.
You know your reference, and that's it.
Says flu.
It's so crazy.
I treat it like flu.
So my stay in the hospital was not as crazy just due to the fact that I was conscious. So I didn't have these like, oh my God, I'm realizing I've been here for 3 days.
Was The Office ever on?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. I had The Office on several times actually. Yeah, those reruns are on. They had like cable, Direct TV or something. So yeah, it was pretty tight. I had the little pull out. Here's the problem though.
Yes.
Again, I'm not a complainer. So the first day and just so you know, when this happens and you almost die, it takes a lot out of you.
Really
you need a little bit more than a day of recovery, I got to be honest. It took them 2 days of directly double pumping insulin into my arms.
They had to get rid of 6 other
so much sugar. I mean,
out.
I just imagined my pancreas was like coated in rock candy.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was.
That's like all I was thinking. I'm like, wow, that poor buddy.
Your blood was mostly cotton candy.
Yeah, like just barely seeping through the veins.
Yeah, but it was pushing. But
not only that, but because my potassium was so low because of the dehydration.
Was too,
yeah. Did you have to drink the tablets?
Yes.
I can tell. Yeah. Look, I hated hospital food, and we could have a whole episode on how bad we hated hospital food probably, but I'll tell you, I'll eat hospital food before I drink another fucking ounce of that orange potassium bullshit. It's like the worst fucking seltzer you could think of that Satan would imagine to dine in hell with. It is so fucking awful.
It is as if you took a New York seltzer bottle and you shook it up, and then you opened it, and you shoved it into a horse's anus, and then when that pressure went through that anus and then pushed back up, you caught what was left in that bottle and then said, look, it's lemon flavored.
Yeah, and then squeezed a citrus in it.
Yeah,
like
it's
over
got to
it.
be some heavy citrus.
Mine was orange, and it was awful.
Mine was a lemon lime.
I asked
And
them.
it was awful.
I said, I know you keep making me drink this.
Yeah.
Can I just eat the pill?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, God, no.
Oh, God.
They were like, that would destroy you with puke immediately. And then when I put it in water and I felt, because I like finally really saw what it did in the cup, I was like, oh, okay. I get what you mean by that. I cannot eat that. Okay.
Yeah.
It really seltzers that water up.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's like Alka-Seltzer on steroids.
Because even drinking it, it was like, ugh, it's like hurting my stomach, you know? And it's also because probably my body was just like, yes, give me it.
I need this. Thank you.
So pretty much 3 days of this, of just potassium pills, anything I can keep down, insulin, here's a blood tester, here's how diabetes works, here's a package. The thing is I didn't complain about how bad my back hurt and how bad my legs hurt and how bad my arms hurt. And finally, a very wonderful travel night nurse from New York with a very wonderful New York accent, just like, hey, forget about it. Like, literally, like, yeah, what you need, you know, just literally like anything you need, you just call me, okay? You know, like she was just super nice. 2 a.m. like couldn't be bubblier. You know, night nurses are G's, dude. I swear to God, and a travel night nurse, you're like, God damn, you're across the country.
Yeah, love you.
She goes, wait a second, did they offer you a bed? And I go, no, they didn't offer me a bed, but that would be nice. And she goes, how long have you been in this gurney, this emergency room gurney? I go, this is day 3. And she goes, you've slept in this? And I go,
3 days?
Yeah, I spent 3 days in a gurney before, kind of just mentioning.
And nobody noticed?
None of the other nurses offered a bed or said like, hey, we're looking for a bed for you. Again, it was super heat of COVID. I had the guy next to me across the curtain almost kill himself and pull his IV out his neck.
Oh, shit.
Some nurse had to go, sir, if you do not sit down, you're gonna kill yourself.
Wow.
Because he's just screaming like, I need to get to her. Like he was old and senile. I don't even know what was going on with him. I ended up getting moved a couple times because of COVID. I ended up being roommates with a guy who had like a stomach surgery thing. He was actually really cool, pretty chill, like spent about a day with that guy. Unfortunately, my 4th day was entirely engulfed with a person who was basically in a coma. Got moved in right next to me. And during COVID, only one family member was allowed in at a time. And this was a situation where people are saying their goodbyes. I'm hearing phone calls. I'm hearing FaceTimes. I'm hearing 5 feet from me.
Oh.
And this is all while I'm not feeling good either.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
and
I don't even feel
you should
good.
Be dead right now.
Yeah. And I don't even feel good asking for a nurse. I'm just like, but wow, my legs.
Yeah.
Can I get another pillow? Like,
can I get a bed?
They eventually moved me into a room by myself. I actually ended up getting a big room by myself for my very last day because for the last 2 days they kept going like, you're going to go home.
Yeah.
This is the hospital game you were mentioning. You're going to go home.
Yep.
Sorry, your potassium level. I'm going to need you to take another, put the pill in the cup,
Mine was
drink the thing.
Sodium is too low.
And they're like, and here's the thing. I was kind of upset and I think they could tell I was upset. And the nurse who was really amazing the whole time, he was just like, look, man. He was like, the reason you got to do this is because potassium is really important. I go, how important, buddy? I really was like wheeling and dealing. I was like, how important? This is potassium. And he goes, well,
bananas can I eat?
He said, well, if you go home and your potassium levels do not rise and they go too low, he goes, your heart will stop. And I go, okay, man, I guess I will be okay.
Right. Give me another tablet.
I was like, I've already almost died. I think I'm okay.
Could I?
Just let me shove that
in 2 next time. Speed this shit up.
I was like, all right. You know, very dramatic. You know, like I said, being next to that guy was really tough. My grandpa died in the hospital, and I had that experience with him of saying goodbye and like being in there.
Not
and
like
so
that
like
was very long ago.
No,
either.
it was literally barely 2 years.
Yeah.
Like and
so it was fresh still in your mind.
Yeah, and so that was really hard.
You through everything.
Yeah, Rue not being able to visit me for all of those times, like, you know, it's just all that was so hard because of COVID, and then seeing another situation like that and seeing how hard that must be on them.
Yep.
One person at a time, like someone can't hold another person while consoling them, and that shit just was so dark. That's why when I finally got moved into the other room, they were trying to get the room ready for him. Something got broke on the bed, and then they finally came and asked me. This was like hours after I've been in the room with this guy, and like they've been trying to figure out another room for him. They go, "Would you mind if you move to the room next door by yourself?" And I was like, I would love nothing fucking more than to use my working fucking legs to walk my ass out of this room and do another one.
Please.
You have never said better words to me. You've never asked
You're
me a
an
better
angel.
fucking question.
You're an angel on this planet.
I mean, it was like I've never been saved more. Like,
Yeah.
the morphine and the insulin, that was
Thank
my
you.
saving, because
Yeah.
my mental
Yeah, 'cause
was starting to really deteriorate.
nothing you want less than just here's all the mortality. Here's
Just
hey,
crazy.
Hey, you were minutes away from
Just like
having that
3 days
whole
ago.
Conversation.
Yeah, 3 days
Having
ago.
those conversations, you would be FaceTiming Rue, saying goodbye.
It just, yeah. In the hospital, no matter, it could be 1 day, it could be 7, it could be 5. It's just the moment you're met with it, that those thoughts come to mind, and your mortality is met. It's just you come face to face with that.
Well, when you're flat out told, like I was with the whole
Their
popping
bedside
comment,
manner is just
they
like,
told me the stroke that I had was very likely that I wouldn't have survived, and then all of a sudden it was well, why are you leaving in half the time?
yes.
So it was that. So when you're told flat out you should be dead now,
Yeah.
it's hard to grapple with anything else than why.
And it's not like the doctor called it a miracle to me either, or said like, he's just like,
I don't know why this happened.
Yeah.
Good job.
he's like, it really has to be because these other things were right. He's like, I can't imagine any of these other things going wrong and you being awake right
And
now,
I am
pretty
not
much.
young and healthy, so we do not have that in common. But the thing we do have is
Willpower.
Well, I was
Support.
See, and I was marijuana.
That too.
Either way,
I mean,
get a
honestly,
Green
that
Lantern
too.
ring.
I mean, that was a big deal too. I
You
definitely
were
think
relaxed. You were able to
handle the initial situation
shock.
a bit better.
Your body was physically more. Like they always say, like in a car accident, the drunk drivers never get injured because their body is limp,
Less
already.
reactive, and
so
it's
they didn't tense up at any point. At a certain point, we both smoked enough in life. Our body was just limp when it went into shock.
When you also smoke cannabinoids, a lot of your organs and blood and white blood cells go up, and they work a little bit better. So when your body's met with stress and it's already operating on that a little bit higher function, it's a good thing.
Not saying, oh, it's a miracle drug.
No,
Guess what?
but
It made me survive a stroke, but it may have helped.
It may have helped. That's the point. It may have helped.
Anything that did.
I'll never turn down those professionals. I'll never turn down insulin. That saves my life every day. Because getting out was such an amazing feeling, and I've never had to go back in because of it, because now I manage it, and it's better because now I know. Now you know how to deal with the thing you have.
Exactly.
And that is...
You now have a new frame of reference.
Yeah, it's such a big lesson to just be like, oh, knowledge. You want to talk about knowledge is power. Yeah, knowledge literally saves my life every day.
Right there,
There's nothing more powerful than knowing what you're dealing with. And
that's all you need to know, really. Once you get that answer, that's that's for everybody who's going through medical stuff where you're in that seesaw trying to figure it out, because we know people who are that are like, something's wrong, don't know what.
Exactly.
While you're going through all those tests and everything, just know you're not alone. All of us have done that.
You're getting answers, and that's what you need.
You're getting answers, and everything you check off that list.
It's your support systems. Because that's
people.
what got me through those days of where like my mental is really starting to go is just text, just hearing and reading and being like, those people are here.
Gift that I sent
They may not be able to be in this room, but they want to be, and I can feel that. And you lean on that if you're in those situations. And honestly, like that's kind of what I kind of want to leave it off on, is like, I want to hear about these situations. If you've been in the slightest traumatic incident where you had to use that support and it was scary and it was something that, like, we want to relate with that. This is a thing that happens when you get together with people and you smoke. It's
we can be
what
serious.
happens. You get connected.
We love having the fun on every
Absolutely.
episode. We love fucking around. And we love joking. Oh my God, Surfer Dan's so old. Did he die? Did he die? And I get that, but I almost did, and so did you, sir.
Yep.
And I love the
We laugh
fact
at our mortality, but we do take it seriously.
we understand what happened, and now we do everything we can to prevent it from ever getting close.
Exactly.
Again.
And that's all we can do as humans.
Yeah.
That's what we can do as just people together and staying together and being supportive. So hit us up on socials. I don't care if it's in direct messages. I don't care if it's in email, 42strains at toke.com.
You don't want us to share on the air, just let
That's
us know
fine.
this
I
is
just
for
want to
you.
hear it. I just want to hear it. I want to hear stories. I want to hear what people have to say.
We want to hear.
Exactly. And with that, stay healthy,
Yes.
stay high, stay golden, and we will smoke with you soon. You can catch Double A on Twitter and Instagram